Vivian suddenly transmigrated into a world where her fate was completely predetermined, unlike the life she once knew. Aslan, a powerful aristocrat, appeared in her life with a cold but mysterious demeanor. The two gradually developed feelings for each other amidst tense situations and dramatic misunderstandings. Vivian had to fight to assert herself, finding her own path in life amidst conspiracies and power struggles. Ultimately, love and courage helped her and Aslan overcome destiny, opening up a future they could freely choose. So what will their future be like? Please follow Lisa Manhwa to follow the story. At the same time, Vivian quietly scooted her foot to the other side of the bushes. She quickly observed her surroundings, secretly sighing in relief. Nice, there is no one here, right? Thinking this, Vivian hurriedly moved her feet. Now was her chance to escape. Just then, a familiar and spine-chilling voice came from behind. What are you doing here, Vivian? She panicked and turned around. She had been discovered by the second prince of the Astaroth Empire, and the Grand Duke of the North, a ruthless, cold-blooded man. A man whose nature was more like a monster than a human, Aslan Reshef Astaroth. Aslan stared at Vivian. He smiled faintly. You wanted to take a walk, then you should have called me. We could have had a pleasant walk together. She scratched her head and gave a forced smile. You seemed busy, Aslan replied bluntly. I can always make time for you. Vivian frowned slightly. I actually foresaw this. That is why I prepared. She quickly presented a piece of paper. Actually, I received an urgent letter from my sister. Aslan's face changed slightly. He lowered his voice as if questioning her. You are close to your sister, I see. But tell me, Vivian, since when did the crown prince become your sister? Vivian's eyes darted nervously in another direction, her heart pounding. What, the crown prince? Vivian was utterly confused. Why would she receive a letter from Crown Prince Johannes? She could not help but feel a little uneasy, the man who was at odds with Aslan. From when had Aslan gotten so close? Vivian's voice trembled. This. Then suddenly he snatched the letter from her hand. Right before Vivian's eyes, Aslan bluntly tore the paper into two pieces. Before her horrified gaze, he sternly warned, it does not matter who sent the letter, forget about it. Aslan slowly approached, he caressed Vivian's hair, and let us go back to the bedroom, Vivian. Not stopping there, Aslan suddenly growled, you promised to spend the whole day with me, did not you? In a moment of panic, her body collapsed. Aslan called out in alarm, Vivian. He hurriedly supported Vivian. Are you okay? I am sorry for startling you, she said weakly as if she had no strength left. I am fine, it is just a little cold today. Hearing this, Aslan urged, all right, let us go back to the room to rest. You can't get any sicker, when the day we truly become husband and wife is approaching. He did not forget to ask, you are also looking forward to that day? Vivian screamed internally, right, not at all. Immediately after, Aslan hugged Vivian tightly in a deserted place. She began to break down mentally. I failed again. At this rate I won't be able to escape. Back to when I got involved in this, it all started with that foolish love letter. The curse of Astaroth. After dying in an accident, I transmigrated into a character in the novel I read in my previous life. The story is this, the descendants of the hero who defeated the monster were cursed to transform into monsters. The male lead of this novel is Aslan Reshef Astaroth. Because he is a member of the royal family, he is also affected by that curse. Although born as a human, the pitiful male lead must endure the fate of transforming into a black lion. Worse, his fiancée is completely unaware of the curse, only infatuated with his power and handsome appearance. That villainous name is Vivian Eleonora, the very girl I transmigrated into. If everything goes according to the original story, Aslan will eventually tire of Vivian's misdeeds, and fall in love with her half-sister, the female lead. Too angry, Vivian tried to kill her sister. Therefore, she died at the hands of Aslan. Back to reality, Vivian secretly felt grateful. Luckily I transmigrated into this person before they met. She outlined each step in her plan. Now I will just live quietly and keep myself safe, and when the time comes, I will bless the love of Aslan and the female lead, but... Suddenly, the porcelain cup on the table shattered into many pieces. There is one detail not mentioned in the original story. Vivian is slowly dying of tuberculosis. Thinking of this, she looked angry. I was lucky to get a second life, but now I am going to be short-lived. Sadly, no one was there with the sick Vivian. All she had was an inheritance and a year to live. Vivian gripped the pen tightly. She thought to herself, that is right, even with just a portion of this property, I have nothing to worry about, so I will spend the rest of my time doing what I want. That is when I made the decision to escape, and wrote that letter. In the letter Vivian wrote clearly, if everyone is reading this letter, then I am no longer in this world. She paused. I am just living with a new identity. My departure is the best thing, so do not look for me or wait for me to return. Vivian focused on calculating. I plan to spend the rest of my life in a luxurious resort. Do not bother me. By the way, I leave all my property and land to my fiancé, Prince Aslan. She grinned. Wouldn't it be better for the main characters if the villain was no longer there? I thought everything was going smoothly. Unexpectedly, robbers blocked Vivian's path. They threatened loudly, "Hey, why do not you take the things out of the carriage, and we will let you go." "Okay, but I met robbers as soon as the journey started." The man sneered, "Just consider yourself unlucky today, miss, but this is not a challenge." Vivian bowed her head. She said as if whispering, "That is right, today is really unlucky." Then suddenly Vivian took out a sharp sword. She stressed each word, "Not for me, but for you." Hearing this, the man chuckled. "She thinks she can take us down." The person next to him chimed in, "I do not deny her effort, but it is all useless. Because Vivian comes from the Eleanor family, the most elite military family of the empire." A long time later, the robbers lay sprawled on the ground. Vivian turned away, suppressing a cough in her throat. "Did I overdo it, coughing too much?" Suddenly, a strange sound echoed from inside the forest. She startled and turned around, a growl. Vivian's eyes stopped at the abandoned house opposite. It came from there. How could there be a house in the middle of the forest? Without hesitation, she approached a table. "I think it came from behind this cloth." Immediately afterward, Vivian decisively removed the tattered cloth. Her eyes widened in shock. Only a black lion was seen locked inside an iron cage. Vivian was slightly surprised. "A lion, it looks injured." She glanced over its body. "Wait, black fur." Vivian's gaze locked onto one point, and golden eyes. In a brief moment, she quickly came to a conclusion. "This is Aslan, definitely." Vivian leaned down. She could not help but feel a little confused. What is he doing here, and in lion form? In that moment Vivian vaguely remembered the lines inside the novel. She unconsciously bit her fingertip, her heart in a tangled mess. Is it because I am not following the original storyline? Later, Vivian brought a heavy axe. She had once made up her mind. "I have no intention of getting involved with you anymore." Vivian's eyes were almost drawn to Aslan. She once again ignored her determination. "But I can't just watch you die in monster form. You can't even speak." Immediately Vivian swung the axe up. She shouted loudly, "But promise you will let me go." As soon as the axe was swung down, the lock shattered. From inside, Aslan slowly moved towards her. Vivian unconsciously smiled. "I think I did it." "All right." He stared at her with lustful eyes. Seeing this, Vivian waved her hands frantically. She muttered, "Wait, Prince Aslan, you are not going to eat me, are you?" Before Vivian finished speaking, Aslan suddenly opened his mouth wide, his body pouncing towards her. Before the horrific scene, Vivian's body fell to the ground. The scene from a few days ago was replayed, at Aslan's residence. At this time, Aslan carefully read the letter in his hand, to Prince Aslan. "If you are reading this will, perhaps I am no longer in this world. If my departure is the best thing, then do not look for me or wait for me to return. As for the property, I will transfer everything to my fiancé, Prince Aslan." At the end of the letter, she clearly wrote her full name, Vivian Eleonora. Reading this, Aslan's facial muscles tensed. He muttered unconsciously, "You." Aslan put on a displeased expression. "Bothering me to work for this piece of paper." Diego hurriedly explained, "It is not just a piece of paper," he replied casually. "I know, it is a will." Aslan bluntly spoke sarcastically. "That woman is probably just trying to get attention." In contrast to him, he looked anxious. "Your Highness, this time, it seems to be real." After a moment of hesitation, Diego suddenly announced, "She has tuberculosis." As expected, Aslan immediately reacted. He repeated doubtfully, "Tuberculosis." He slowly spoke, "Yes, I received this information from the Eleanor family's private doctor. He said her condition has become severe and incurable. It seems this shock has caused her to behave like a completely different person." Right now Aslan lifted himself out of his chair, his hand rubbed down the paper. Aslan decisively ordered, "Diego, burn the will. I can't let the emperor know and use it against me." He looked hesitant. "His Majesty." Then suddenly Diego spoke, "Has already ordered a thorough investigation of Miss Vivian's will." Hearing this, Aslan angrily slammed his hand on the table. "Damn it." His heart was momentarily worried. The news of the will has reached people in the palace, then the crown prince must also know. Terrible. Johannes will not let this go. He will do everything to frame me. I must act quickly before that happens. Without thinking, he shouted loudly, "Find that woman immediately, bring her here before she breathes her last." Aslan coldly spoke, "If she is dead, at least bring the body back. I must play the role of a grieving fiancé." Hearing this, Diego bowed his head and replied, "Yes, Your Highness." In that moment, thoughts kept flashing in his mind. This woman, from beginning to end, is just a nuisance. 5 days later, Aslan could not help but feel a little doubtful. Is this where she lost track of her? The subordinate quickly replied, "Yes, it seems she went into the forest." He narrowed his eyes as he looked ahead and ordered, "All right, go after her." The subordinate looked hesitant. "Impossible, Your Highness, the southern forest is very dangerous during the rainy season." Aslan suddenly narrowed his eyes at him. "That is only a small part of our worries at this time. We have been looking for Vivian for 5 days. After speaking, he left coldly. If you are afraid, you can wait at the foot of the mountain, the subordinate shouted, Your Highness. A long time later, Aslan slowly moved. He looked around. With her condition, she can't have gone far. Following her tracks is easy. Aslan's footsteps suddenly stopped. He unconsciously felt a dangerous aura, but, I am being followed again. A suspicion arose in Aslan's mind. Is it an assassin sent by Johannes? He gnashed his teeth. How dare these idiots block my path? I will chop them into 100 pieces. Suddenly Aslan's body stiffened. A call echoed, Aslan re-Chef Astaroth. His eyes widened. This voice. Only 2 red eyes were seen staring at Aslan. It began to growl, I am your true self. Embrace the hideous monster like you. And spend the rest of your life wallowing in regret and despair. He clutched his aching chest. Why at this time? Suddenly 2 arms appeared. They hugged Aslan's body tightly. His face began to drip with cold sweat, his heart struggling frantically. Aslan closed his eyes tightly. He prayed to himself, I can't faint here. The scene transitioned. A beam of light suddenly shone directly on Aslan's face. He vaguely opened his eyes becoming empty, this memory. Meanwhile, Vivian knelt on the ground. She clenched her hands as if praying, Your Highness is canceling the engagement. Aslan coldly turned to look at Vivian. That is right, which means you won't be able to become the Grand Duchess while alive. He glared, while growling, remember, the villainess of Eleonora. After speaking, Aslan left bluntly, ignoring her frantic shouts, wait. Later, Vivian almost collapsed. She clutched her mouth as if trying to suppress something. Aslan unintentionally saw a drop of red blood fall straight to the ground. He unconsciously approached Vivian, his eyes carefully looking at her. Why? Aslan could not help but feel a little confused. What is the purpose of showing me this memory? To make me feel guilty about Vivian's death. Subconsciously, he began to resist. Astaroth, what do you want from me? It is as if my body is unstable. You are trying to throw my soul into a pit of despair. It roared in spasms. You will regret this day, forever. Then a familiar voice rang out. Don't worry, I will save you. Aslan switched to alert mode. Someone is here. Is it an assassin? At this moment, he opened his mouth. His body unconsciously lunged at her. Vivian fainted in fright. Aslan woke up. Vivian Eleonora. He stared blankly at her. Why am I here? Then Aslan became suspicious. Did Vivian lock me in here? His eyes darted down to the broken lock. I do not think so. Seeing this, Aslan once again made a guess. Then she saved me. His eyes lit up with helplessness and anger. Fool, she is not even strong enough to protect herself. Because she has seen me in this form, I have even more reason not to let her go. The curse of Astaroth is the ultimate secret. If Vivian reveals the truth about me. In a split second, Aslan made a bold decision. I must eliminate her. He unconsciously lowered his ears, but I can't let her die alone here. Immediately after, Aslan gently bit down on Vivian's clothes and lifted her up. He thought to himself, after all, she is my fiancée. Suddenly the sound of water dripping echoed. The scene switched to a dark cave. At the same time, Vivian fell into a deep sleep. She kept groaning. Vivian unconsciously touched the soft fur. She thought to herself, is that the sound of rain? But it is strange, I am not cold at all, it is so warm and comfortable. Immediately Vivian opened her eyes wide, a chill ran down her spine. Only to see her lying comfortably on Aslan's body. Before that scene, Vivian gaped in surprise. Aslan. She widened her eyes, staring blankly at the large beast figure next to her. Why am I with Aslan, in a place like this? Vivian looked down in panic at her trembling hand. This is... From when was her hand covered in blood? It had long been dry, blood. As soon as she realized the situation, Vivian almost screamed. Her heart was in utter chaos. Wake up, Aslan. A few hours later, Vivian gently tied a cloth bandage. She sighed inwardly. Done. Vivian looked at the peacefully sleeping beast face. Like this, it is stable enough now, but be careful. At this moment Aslan lunged up, making a growling sound. She could not help but feel a little heartache. I know he is a ferocious beast, but who would do this to him? Is he often injured? Vivian's hand slowly reached out to him. Even though he was injured, he still brought me here. She lowered her head, whispering sincerely, thank you. Just at this moment, Aslan suddenly opened his eyes, his gaze fixed on Vivian. Seeing this, Vivian chuckled. You are not injured anywhere else, are you? She startled and pulled her hand back. I swear he was looking at me with human eyes just now. It must have been my imagination. Vivian turned in one direction, breathing out a long sigh. She was momentarily stunned, staring at the red mark on Aslan's chest, that is, an upside-down 5-pointed star. Vivian became curious. Why is it on Aslan's chest? It looks quite different from the one in the novel. After a moment of silence, she hesitated. Anyway, I am glad you are not injured anywhere else. Saying this, Vivian smiled awkwardly, but it seems like we have many other concerns. Then she stood up while not forgetting to signal. Stay here, I will go scout around for a bit. Vivian turned around and saw his massive body standing close behind her. Do you want to come with me? Later, the two walked together in the dark cave. She reassured herself, it will be okay, right? Meanwhile, a red symbol was already etched deep into the rock. Vivian looked around. She thought for a moment, I keep getting this feeling of déjà vu, and after seeing the thing on Aslan's chest, I know where I am. The imprint cave. In the original story, this is where the female lead and Aslan first met. They got stuck in the cave because of a heavy rain and then spent a passionate night together, causing a bright red mark on both of their chests. Through this mark, Aslan could maintain human consciousness even in beast form. Vivian thought to herself, therefore, this is a very important place. Her face suddenly changed color, her heart filled with unease. The problem is. Vivian put on a helpless expression. Why is he here and there is no female lead with him? Behind, Aslan was still following closely. She ran away helplessly. How strange. Vivian breathed out, and if there is a landslide, both the cave and I will be finished. I can't take it anymore. Suddenly a voice rang out. According to the magic tool, he is here. Vivian's eyes widened like a warrior. She immediately turned to one side. Someone, the voices of the soldiers echoed, cold as a knife. We have to capture him alive for the crown prince. Vivian stared in disbelief at the group of people. She felt something was very wrong. Capture alive, for the crown prince, what are they talking about? Vivian startled, she slowly turned around. Wait, the person Johannes wants to capture is. Without thinking, Vivian shouted, run, Asla. Save. The soldiers screamed madly, capture him alive. Seeing the fresh blood flowing continuously, Vivian almost screamed internally, idiot, I told you to be careful. She began to panic, what should I do? At this rate Aslan will. Vivian suddenly looked up at the top of the cave. Right now, an idea flashed in her mind. That is it, Vivian angrily shouted, you animal bullies. She rushed out of the darkness, her eyes blazing with anger. How can you torture a poor little kitten who can't even talk? I am going to report you. One soldier hissed, who is that crazy woman? A dry order rang out, take her out, can't leave any witnesses. After speaking, the group shouted in unison, eliminate her. At the same time, Vivian gripped the rope tightly. She stared at them. That is right, get a little closer, at the cave entrance. Right before her eyes, the soldiers began to swing their swords towards Vivian. Seizing the opportunity, she decisively pulled the rope hard. Right now. From above, dozens of rocks began to fall. The soldiers screamed madly, everyone shouting, careful. In an instant, they were crushed under the rocks. A weak voice rang out, save. On this side, Aslan's eyes widened as he looked towards the cave entrance. He stared inside. Vivian. Just then, a figure crawled out from the rubble. Vivian slowly got up. She breathed a sigh of relief. Almost. Thank goodness I calculated correctly. The inside of the cave did not collapse. Vivian's eyes stopped at the two guards. There is more. She gripped the hilt of her sword tightly, a flash of steel, then the rest. Vivian swung the sword in front of her. She smirked. Only Vivian's lips curled into a cold smile as she announced, you will meet my sword. The soldiers quickly turned around. No, spare me, she said sarcastically, running away. How cowardly. Vivian retracted her crazy demeanor. She lowered her head and giggled. Suddenly Vivian's body fell backward. The sword in her hand fell straight to the ground. Seeing this, Aslan slowly approached Vivian. She covered her mouth and coughed up a mouthful of blood. Vivian's vision blurred. Perhaps I overdid it, even though I wrote a will and prepared for death. She sighed inwardly. I do not want to die alone in a place like this. At the same time, Aslan used his figure to shield Vivian. He unconsciously reached out and touched her hair. Under the pouring rain, Aslan gently hugged Vivian. He leaned down looking at her pale face, his heart in turmoil. Vivian, why did you do that? The Vivian that I knew was not like this. She cared more about power than love and was only interested in her own pleasure. That was the Vivian Eleonora that I knew, therefore. In a split second, her bright face appeared. Aslan unconsciously followed Vivian's footsteps. His inner voice gradually faded, like a confession no one should hear. She should have stayed the person she always was. If she was like that, then she would not always appear in my head, and I would not feel the desire to be closer like this. Aslan began to tremble. The instinct of a beast mingled with infatuation. What is this irresistible hunger, and this longing? He leaned down and whispered, tell me, Vivian, what have you done to me? Later, Aslan spoke as if lamenting, Vivian, please, open your eyes. The scene transitioned. She woke up after a good sleep. Vivian looked at the gold-plated ceiling. Where is this? She sat up confused. The room is so magnificent. Did I finally die and go to heaven? Before she could understand the situation, Vivian startled. What? He asked worriedly. So there is no cure? She could not help but feel a little confused. Aslan. The doctor's voice trembled, full of helplessness, but her condition has become so severe that she may not have even a year left. He growled, almost shouting. I brought you here because you are the best doctor in the south. Aslan glared at him, and that is all you have to say. She startled when she saw Aslan get angry, the pressure dropping frighteningly. Is he going to hit the doctor? I should stop him. Vivian quickly reached out to him, her voice weak, "Your Highness." He turned back, his face that was originally cold softened. "Vivian." Aslan hurriedly approached. "You are awake," she said hesitantly. Where am I?" He gently touched Vivian's hand and said softly, "This is my mansion in the south, so do not worry and rest." Not stopping there, Aslan suddenly announced, "I am sorry for keeping you in a place like this. We will go to the capital as soon as you get better." She was stunned. "The capital?" He looked directly into Vivian's eyes and declared, "That is right, we will get married immediately." Hearing this, her facial muscles almost stiffened. Vivian sat up. "What?" Aslan shouted in alarm. "You should not sit up yet, stay in bed longer." She awkwardly asked again, "Wait, what is going on?" He calmly replied, "I know you are looking forward to it." Just as Vivian was about to react, Aslan suddenly handed over a piece of paper. "But do not worry about the procedures, I will take care of everything, you just need to sign here." She looked at the blank piece of paper in surprise. "You are serious?" Below it was clearly written her full name, Vivian Eleonora Astaroth. She scratched her head, internally screaming madly, "What is this? I thought Aslan hated Vivian. If he marries me, then what about the female lead? I even wrote a will to avoid getting involved with anyone until the end of my life, but why do I feel like I am getting more deeply involved in this? Why would Aslan do that to me?" He suddenly got closer. "Don't worry." He continued calmly, "From now on, I will always be by your side, so you won't be lonely anymore." Meanwhile, Vivian's heart began to beat faster. "Now I understand." Thoughts arose in her mind. "He wants to tie me down with a marriage registration, even though he does not care about me. There is only one reason why Aslan would go to such lengths. He suspects that I know his weakness, the curse of Astaroth. That is why he wants to keep me by his side to monitor me." "I definitely can't marry him," Vivian said tremblingly. "Why would you do that, Your Highness?" Before her reaction, he looked confused. "What, as you know," she said dissatisfied, "I do not have much longer to live." Vivian turned to look at Aslan with sparkling eyes. "The engagement was just a political arrangement, is not it meaningless to us now?" Saying this, she turned away, while adding coldly, "So, please let me spend my last days alone." Vivian said silently, "I am begging you." Aslan suddenly changed his tone. "Vivian, why would you say that?" His eyes were empty, his voice echoing, "You won't die, I will do anything to save you." Saying that, Aslan sternly reminded, "So do not let anyone make you think nonsense again." She turned back dissatisfied. "This beast." Diego suddenly spoke, "Your Highness, it is time to complete your duties." He turned to look out the window. "Is that so? I did not realize it was so late." Aslan gently reminded, "All right, we will talk more tomorrow, rest well, Vivian." Before the warmth that was coming, Vivian pursed her lips. "I am so scared." On this side, he seemed to have noticed her discomfort. After a moment of silence, Aslan said, "Perhaps I pushed you too hard." After speaking, he turned around abruptly. Vivian stared blankly. What did he say? Once outside, Aslan cursed, "Damn it." Seeing this, Diego worriedly asked, "Are you all right, Your Highness?" He replied with a blank look, "Why would not I be?" He hesitated. "It is just that, you brought Miss Vivian all the way here, while you yourself are injured." Diego bowed and added, "So I could not help but worry about you." Aslan looked cold. "I am fine, do not worry about me." He suddenly changed his tone. "Never mind, I need you to do something else." Diego asked suspiciously, "What is it?" Aslan decisively ordered, "Find out everything about the Eleonora family, including their internal problems." He raised an eyebrow and instructed, "I want to know why they ignored Vivian until she was seriously ill, and keep this a secret." Without hesitation, he quickly replied, "Yes, Your Highness." At the same time, Vivian sighed. All of this happened so suddenly. She could not help but feel a little confused. Do we really need to rush? What about my dream of escaping? Will I have to die without seeing it? And now I have to spend the rest of my time on a tightrope around Aslan, so tiring. Just then, a voice rang out, "Madam, may I come in?" Vivian put on a forced expression. "Madam, I am not used to that title." She smiled faintly. "What is the matter?" The maid quickly announced, "The Duke invites you to have breakfast together tomorrow." To discuss the marriage registration, she could not help but feel dissatisfied. In the morning, seriously. The next morning, the maid carefully spoke, "Allow us to help you dress up, madam." She gently used a comb to untangle Vivian's hair. Meanwhile, she looked suspicious. Why would Aslan make an exception to save me? He does not need to do that, all he has to do is pretend to care. He also said, he would do anything to save me, right? That reminds me of, around the middle of the novel, there was a mention of medicine to treat tuberculosis. The medicine is made by an acquaintance of Aslan, so there is no way to get it except through Aslan, but can I live long enough until then? A long time later, the maid interrupted her thoughts. "Done, madam." At this time, Vivian appeared with a completely new look. She gently touched the center of her chest and smiled unconsciously. The maids could not help but admire. Because you have not fully recovered, we have prepared comfortable clothes for you. You look great wearing it, Vivian chuckled. Thank you, it seems to fit perfectly. The group replied in unison, we will escort you to the dining room right away. She walked and thought, alright, Vivian, think carefully about what will be most beneficial for herself, while also avoiding being controlled by Aslan. At first, everything went smoothly, breakfast was very pleasant, and surprisingly Aslan did not go straight into talking about marriage. If he took it slow, it would be better for me. But when did things change? The head chef approached, is the food to your liking? She nodded politely, yes, it has been a long time since I have enjoyed such a carefully prepared meal. He bowed respectfully, I am very honored. Vivian became suspicious. Was it around the time I talked to the head chef? The head chef gently took her hand. I will continue to try my best for you, madam. She chuckled softly, I look forward to it. He suddenly bent down, his mouth gently approaching the back of Vivian's hand. Just at this moment, Aslan called sternly, head chef. He stressed each word, the meat seems to be burnt. Not stopping there, Aslan suddenly complained, you do not know how to grill meat properly. I am starting to doubt whether you are really the head chef or not. He looked confused, please forgive me, your highness. Vivian stared blankly at him, what is he saying? It is delicious to me. Immediately afterward, Aslan coldly ordered, breakfast is over, everyone get out, now. He suddenly put a pen in Vivian's fingers, while controlling her according to his will. Aslan lowered his voice, let us continue our conversation. She was stunned, what, hello, this is not a conversation anymore. Vivian gaped as she looked down at each movement, this is coercion. Seeing this, Aslan calmly added, I am sorry, I did not want to do this, but I can't control myself anymore. Vivian was even more dissatisfied, is he a prince or a lone shark? She hesitated, wait. Immediately afterward, Vivian pushed hard into Aslan, let me go. Only to see her elbow hit his stomach hard. Before the unexpected situation, Vivian's face turned pale. She hurriedly stood up, mouth constantly asking, oh no, are you okay? Aslan replied indifferently, this is nothing compared to what you are enduring. Vivian was slightly confused, he must be in a lot of pain. She bluntly questioned, why would you do that, your highness? It is true that I used to be obsessed with marrying you. Saying this, Vivian did not forget to remind, but I no longer crave it, my only wish is to spend the last year of my life in peace. She stressed each word, of course, if any problems arise from the cancellation of the engagement, I will take full responsibility. Therefore, Vivian secretly decided, I need to assure him that I will not reveal the secret about the curse. He coughed lightly, then how about this? Aslan suddenly picked up a piece of paper under the table. She stared blankly at him, what is he writing on the back? After a moment, Aslan brought it to Vivian, this is a contract where I swear, I will use all the resources and intelligence of Astaroth to treat you. He suddenly made a proposal, if after 1 year you are still alive, you will sign the marriage registration on the other side, what do you think? She asked suspiciously, what if I die? Aslan decisively declared, that will never happen. He continued calmly, and of course, I will carefully take care of and protect you, so you won't die from illness or other accidents. Vivian bit her lip slightly, he might be lying. But if you think about it again, Aslan has many opportunities to eliminate me. But if he has gone so far to persuade me, meaning he won't easily kill me, his fiancée, right? Should I take advantage of this, I will stay here until the medicine appears, after all, I do not want to die. Immediately afterward, she quickly replied, okay, I will accept your offer. Aslan paused slightly, his mouth twitching slightly. He smiled lightly, full of danger, perfect. Vivian unconsciously felt a chill, what is it? I have a strange feeling that I have become prey. And then, I finally stayed in Aslan's mansion. At this time, a series of items lay scattered on the floor. Vivian looked vigilant, I can't completely trust Aslan. I still can't know what he is thinking. What if I make him uncomfortable and he changes his mind? I should pack an emergency bag, in case I need to escape. Aslan's voice suddenly rang out right behind her, Vivian. She turned around in panic, what is it? I thought we were done talking, he replied wearily, I called you but you did not answer. Aslan spoke with a gentle tone, but why is your room so messy, as if you are preparing to escape? She turned away, telling herself, calm down, Vivian. Appear completely harmless. To get out of this situation, Vivian said sweetly, your highness. After a moment of hesitation, Vivian hurriedly clarified, I am sorry for the mess, your highness, I am just looking for some clothes. Aslan repeated with suspicion, clothes. She turned away from his gaze, her voice trembling, yes, I want to go out and enjoy some fresh air, of course, now there are no clothes that suit me, I think, with this emaciated body. Vivian muttered, looking down at her emaciated body, dressing up like I used to is no longer possible. Saying this, she thought to herself, will it work? Aslan sighed helplessly. You always have those silly thoughts. With me, whether you dress up or not makes little difference. Vivian startled. It does not work. Right then, he said shyly, you are always beautiful in my eyes. She could not help but feel a little confused. Yes, I can't hear. Aslan suddenly turned around. Diego, are you there? He immediately bowed. Yes, your highness. Aslan ordered without hesitation. Cancel all my schedules. I will go to the market with Vivian. Diego replied quickly. Yes, your highness. She widened her eyes looking at him. Aslan and me, go out together. Vivian looked awkward. You do not need to do that. I can go myself. He bluntly interrupted. No, you are a patient. I can't let any risks happen. Aslan spoke so sternly that she did not dare to argue. Because it is not safe for you to go alone, so I will go with you as your bodyguard. On this side, Vivian grabbed her head, her heart screaming madly, no. She collapsed to the ground, feeling discouraged. Why did things turn out like this again? The scene shifted to a very luxurious street. Entering the market, the sunlight and the crowd made Vivian sigh. Look at everyone. How long has it been since I have been out properly? Thinking about it, I have never had the chance to live freely. First I was locked at home, and even after escaping, I kept encountering one thing after another. Now I can't call the current situation freedom either. Aslan walked closely, gently reminding, be careful, Vivian, there are many people around. Vivian nodded quickly, yes, keep going, me. Her eyes darted quickly in one direction. Will everything be alright? Under the gentle sunlight, the two walked side by side on the busy street. A long time later, Vivian curiously looked at the crystal orbs. What are those? She gaped in surprise. They are so sparkly and beautiful. Aslan made a suggestion. Do you want to buy magic stones? Then he suddenly added, I will buy them all for you. Vivian looked at him blankly. Yes, no, I do not have mana, so I can't use them anyway. Aslan continued to ask, you can still buy them as souvenirs, right? In a moment she became suspicious. Why is he so interested in spending money on me? Vivian reached out and picked up a stone. She slowly said, no, it is really not necessary. Magic stones are for magic users like you. What suits me more is. Then Vivian unconsciously turned to look at the swords. Later, she gripped a sword made of alloy. Vivian immediately prepared to get into an attacking stance. Before Aslan's almost blank gaze, she secretly decided, I am Miss Vivian Eleonora of the Eleonora family, a prestigious military family. I will not let you take advantage of me. In that moment, his body almost stiffened. Right now, Vivian's face lit up. Aslan unconsciously stared at her, so radiant. Vivian. Thinking of this, he smirked, just like you were back then. Suddenly a sound attracted Vivian's attention. She turned around in confusion. What is it? From behind, a shout rang out. Thief, help me, she carefully thought, a robbery. I want to help, but now I am hiding my identity, and, in the past, meddling in other people's affairs never did me any good. The city guards will handle it, so I should stay put. The other person continued to shout, he stole my mother's keepsake. Vivian immediately reacted, my mother's keepsake. Without hesitation, she turned and ran forward. Something happened. Aslan shouted, Vivian. The man hurriedly explained, what? I did not steal anything from her. Iris firmly stated, I saw everything. Give it back. Seeing this, he angrily raised his hand. How dare you? Just at this moment, Vivian suddenly appeared. She gripped the man's hand tightly. He asked dissatisfied, what are you doing? Vivian sternly replied, I should be asking you. She loudly ordered, stop lying and give it back to her. How can you steal something as precious as her mother's keepsake? The man looked confused. What are you babbling about? He angrily raised his fist towards her. If you do not want to die, get out of this. Seeing this, Vivian looked helpless. She thought to herself, look at that impulsive behavior. Should I let him punch me out of pity? Vivian's face suddenly changed. She groaned. The man turned to look behind. What? Aslan suddenly appeared. He growled, you dare raise your hand to her. At this time Aslan devoured him with his gaze. Even I treat her with care, but you think you can touch her with that filthy hand? As soon as the words fell, a heart-wrenching scream shook the entire street. A long time later, Iris hesitantly spoke, oh my god, thank you so much. Vivian smiled faintly, I am glad you got it back. She laughed softly, thank you, it is very important to me. Iris stared at Vivian with teary eyes. With this, I can prove to my father that I am his real daughter. You saved my life. Can you tell me your name? She looked hesitant. At the same time, a group of soldiers hurriedly approached. Is everything alright? Vivian almost woke up. It is the city guards. Without thinking, she pulled him back. Let us go, Aslan. Iris only managed to say, wait. She stood frozen in place. She is gone without a trace. But I will meet her again, right, my life savior. On this side, Vivian ran madly, pulling Aslan's hand hard. After a moment of silence, he suddenly called her name, Vivian. Hearing this, she awkwardly let go of his hand. I am sorry, I pulled your hand and ran without thinking. Aslan, who was usually calm, suddenly stammered, "No, it is not that. Earlier, you called me by my name instead of your highness." He squeezed Vivian's hand, his voice urgent, "Can you just call me that?" Before the sudden proposal, she looked confused. By your name, she could not help but feel a little confused, so sudden. Vivian cautiously spoke, "Grand Duke Aslan Reshef Astaroth." "No," he interrupted without hesitation, "not the full name." Vivian's cheeks flushed red, she shyly called, "Then, Aslan." In an instant, the corners of his mouth turned up to form a slight smile. Aslan suddenly approached. He replied softly, Vivian." Then Aslan did not forget to remind, "It is late, let us go back." After speaking, he quickly walked away. She put on a confused expression. "What is the matter? Why does he want me to call him by his name?" Vivian's eyes stopped on Aslan. His red ears caught her attention, so mysterious. In another development, Johannes said coldly, "My brother must have his own strange habits." He gently stroked the paper, his voice full of emotion, "But at least." Johannes smirked, "This will entertain me for a while." The scene from a few hours ago was replayed. Aslan hesitantly spoke. "Can you call me by my name?" Vivian asked confused. You mean, Aslan?" He immediately reacted, "Vivian," thoughts arose in her mind, "I secretly feel relieved. Thinking that if every day was like this, I could get through a year here. I thought there would be no more trouble, until today." The scene shifted to a very magnificent mansion. At the same time, Vivian and Johannes sat facing each other under a gazebo. She looked at him warily. "What is it?" Vivian's eyes were almost fixed on Johannes. She could not help but feel a little confused. "Why am I here, with the crown prince?" "All right, carefully outline each step to see where the mistake was. This morning, I was allowed to go out by Aslan. The morning before, he asked suspiciously, 'Do you want to go to the bank alone?' Seeing that Vivian did not answer, Aslan calmly ordered, 'All right, then I will send the best bodyguard to follow you.' She almost shouted, 'I said I am going alone.' After persuasion, I was finally allowed and took the carriage out." She looked outside. "Driver, this direction is not to the bank," he quickly replied, "We are taking a shortcut." Later the carriage stopped. The driver announced, "We have arrived, madam." Vivian quickly stepped outside. Why did it take so long? Before her eyes was a completely unfamiliar mansion. Back to reality, Vivian put on a helpless expression. "That is right, I was kidnapped." In contrast to her, Johannes chuckled, "Perhaps this is fate." He calmly added, "It seems the driver accidentally took the wrong turn, but since you are already here, why do not you relax and enjoy it?" She angrily cursed in her heart. "You told him to kidnap me, did not you?" This is really the kind of shamelessness that I expect from the main villain. He is exactly like in the novel. The main villain and Aslan's enemy, Johannes Friedrich Astaroth, the first prince. Unlike Aslan, whose mother was a maid in the palace, Johannes is the emperor's eldest son and the one most likely to be passed down the curse of Astaroth. However, the royal palace used dark magic to transfer the curse to Aslan. But the curse is like a ticking time bomb. You can't predict when it will explode. It is a power that can summon demons and destroy the world. Therefore, Johannes must see Aslan as a problem that needs to be contained. Vivian gripped her skirt. She kept telling herself, "And the reason I was summoned must be related to him. I should do everything to avoid being played by him." Johannes suddenly changed the subject. "The ocean is beautiful, is not it?" Vivian answered confused, "Yes." He calmly continued, "I often come to the south to admire this view. It is the best way to relax." She nodded politely, "I understand." Not stopping there, Johannes could not help but admire. "This is a place I cherish very much. The scenery is great, it is warm, and most importantly." He picked up a teacup and said meaningfully, "I have a precious friend who can have tea with me." Johannes tilted his head to look at her. His lips curved into a smile. "Because of you, this place has become even better. Thank you, Miss Vivian." Vivian's heart skipped a beat. "Friend, who is he talking about?" She said hesitantly, "Forgive me, your highness, but I do not feel well, so I should." He suddenly interrupted. "That is right, I was going to say." Johannes put down the teacup. He slowly added, "That the royal family is very worried about your health, so I want to introduce you to a royal physician." He said softly but with inviting meaning, "What do you think? Do you feel like you are not getting enough attention?" In Vivian's heart, alarm bells rang. Is he testing me? Johannes chuckled. "My brother is quite indifferent, is not he? He can't bother to invite a doctor to examine his fiancée." She coldly looked at him. "It seems he is trying to cause a rift between me and Aslan, but I signed a contract with him about treating me. This evil scheme won't work." Vivian sat up a little straighter, her voice weak but firm. "No, I understand him. He is simply trying not to abuse the power of a prince for personal reasons." Johannes asked again with suspicion, "You really think so?" She quickly replied, "Yes, as you know, despite the rumors, he is a person with noble ideals." Saying this, Vivian stood up. "If you have nothing else to say, I will." Just at this moment, a meow rang out from behind. She looked back blankly. A cat. Johanna's voice had a hint of amusement as he observed her reaction. I heard you also quite like animals. Vivian smiled awkwardly. Yes, she paused. That is exactly what Vivian in the novel is good at. He began to plead. It is a bit difficult for me to raise that animal. I really need your help. Vivian unconsciously replied. It has been quite well domesticated and behaves well with me. In that moment, Johannes suddenly changed his tone. No, not that one. He glanced in one direction. Your fiancé seems to trust you very much. It makes me look at you in a different light, Aslan. Aslan stepped forward, holding Vivian tightly, his voice low. She is too special to me, and definitely not the type of person you should force to come here. Johannes continued with a provocative tone. That is right, take good care of her. It would be troublesome if a hungry beast set its eyes on her. Saying this, he smirked sinisterly. You think so, right? Aslan did not reply, his face exuded a cold aura. Johannes spoke softly. Sadly, the time for tea is over. He gave a perfect aristocratic smile. Come again next time, Miss Vivian. She put on a dissatisfied expression. Hey, if you say it like that, it will sound like I came here willingly. I must be too stressed. I do not feel well. Aslan called her in a low, worried voice. Vivian. He gnashed his teeth. If anything happens to Vivian. Aslan stepped forward, his body tensed like an animal protecting its territory. I won't let you off, Johannes. Immediately afterward, he picked her up despite her protests. Vivian, let us go home. Hang in there. Vivian struggled madly. Aslan, put me down. Johannes fell into silence, then smirked. What a disappointment. I prepared this because she clearly likes cats. Recalling a few minutes ago, Vivian declared loudly. No, I understand him. It seems she has to be a different beast. He chuckled secretly. But Miss Vivian, you are wrong about Aslan. He is nothing more than a monster, simply controlled by the instinct of your wealth, not love. I wonder what her reaction will be when she finally sees the truth. I can't wait any longer. The scene stopped before a black mansion covered in a cold atmosphere, Aslan's mansion. Aslan stood beside her. He said with a distressed look, the doctor said your condition has worsened because you exerted yourself. It is my fault. He turned and declared, I will never let you go alone again. Vivian hurriedly called, Aslan. Aslan squinted slightly, as if recalling Johannes' teasing voice. I knew it. Johannes came to the south for a short visit, but I never thought he would set his eyes on you too. When Johannes tried to make you turn away from me, I was very resentful. In a moment, I thought about killing them all and taking you back. I wanted to make sure he would never see the light of day again, as punishment for deceiving me. Just at that moment, she suddenly spoke. But, I understand him. Vivian declared loudly. Aslan is a person with high moral character and ideals. Aslan's heart was warmed. You believed me. How can you say those words? I am a filthy beast, the one who said enough cruel words to you. He coldly spoke, meaning you will never become the Grand Duchess while you are alive. Back to reality, he suddenly called her name, Vivian. Aslan looked at her like a desperate person clinging to the faintest hope. You hate me? Before Vivian could react, he suddenly interrupted. Never mind, pretend I did not say anything. At the same time, her eyes were almost drawn to Aslan. She suddenly replied, I do not hate you. He asked suspiciously, why? Vivian thought, he is annoying and scary, but I do not need to say that here, do I? She quickly added, but I said, Aslan, I. Vivian hurriedly put her hand over her mouth. Why cough at this time? Seeing this, Diego hurriedly reported, Your Highness, Miss Vivian needs to rest. Aslan reluctantly nodded. All right, take care of it. After speaking, the door slowly closed. Once outside, he said to himself, so she does not hate me. His footsteps stopped, bringing anxiety, but, what if she knows the truth? That her fiancé, the person she once despised, is nothing more than a brutal beast, a cursed monster. Would she still be able to say she does not hate me? Thinking of this, he cursed himself. You are really disgusting, Aslan. Even now, imagining her wincing in fear, all I want is to keep her. Lock her up so that no one can lay their eyes on her, except me. Aslan's heart was in a tangled mess. What is this hunger? His eyes suddenly widened. Aslan shuddered slightly, as if he had touched a dangerous truth. Now I understand what that feeling is. Back to Vivian, she covered her mouth trying to suppress a cough. Vivian lay down on the bed. She sighed inwardly. Great, now I am under constant surveillance. It is all because of that jerk Johannes. Thinking about it, what happened earlier with that strange familiarity? Something like this also happened in the original story. Of course, it was the female lead, not Vivian, who was supposed to be in that scene. Something is wrong, but the things that were supposed to happen to the female lead keep happening to me. If it is not a coincidence, then what is the next event? A few days later, Diego quickly reported, Your Highness, there is a letter from the royal palace. The atmosphere froze. The letter shook slightly between Aslan's hands. This. Inside it clearly stated that the marriage between Aslan Reshef Astaroth and Vivian Eleonora was not approved. He lowered his voice, the royal palace has summoned us to the capital. Aslan suddenly erupted in anger. He roared, damn it, go to hell. Vivian hurriedly stopped him. Calm down, Aslan. She could not help but feel a little confused. Impossible, the next part clearly takes place in the royal palace in the capital. But I was supposed to be stuck in the mansion for treatment. I should not steal the female lead storyline anymore. Vivian's face turned pale, with the thought, this is bad, I have to do something quickly. Later, she sat silently in the carriage. Vivian stared blankly outside. That is it. It seems I am about to go to the capital. No matter what happens in the original story, if the emperor tells you to do something, you have to do it. Vivian asked softly, are we going straight to the royal palace? Aslan said firmly, no, we are going to Blackford first. She widened her eyes. Blackford, Aslan's territory in the north, she stammered, I have never been to Blackford before. He smiled rarely, would you like me to take you around? Vivian put on a blank expression, yes. The scene shifted to the mansion, with gates made of precious wood. Vivian was almost overwhelmed by the icy magnificence of the territory. She could not help but admire, so gorgeous. Vivian looked around. The house in the south was impressive enough, but this place is even more luxurious, Aslan calmly replied. You will have to get used to it, Vivian. He suddenly turned and signaled, and this is your room. Entering inside, she quickly glanced around, but Aslan, it seems something is missing. Vivian pointed to the wall that had been removed, connecting the two rooms. My bedroom is missing a wall. He said very naturally, as if it was obvious for a long time, isn't it obvious that the Grand Duke and his wife have connecting bedrooms? Vivian's body almost froze. She widened her eyes looking at Aslan. Unbelievable. He really trusts me so little that he has to monitor me so closely. I am so tired. I want to be alone. He gently comforted. I am sorry, but I hope you understand. Aslan reached out to Vivian. He smiled faintly. I just do not want you to leave my sight, even for a moment. After all, you have come a long way, Vivian. At this time, Aslan touched her cheek and continued, we will celebrate your first visit to Blackford with a special party. Then he suddenly grabbed Vivian's hand. Let us go. Vivian swallowed the mixed emotions. How can he smile when I am dying inside? If I did not know anything, I would have thought he loved me. A terrifying scene suddenly flashed in her mind. Vivian's heart almost screamed, what am I thinking? I should not joke about things like that. Aslan turned around worriedly. Vivian, she quickly explained, my hands are sweaty. Thoughts kept piling up in Vivian's head. No, there is not even a chance. He even broke down the wall just to monitor me. There is no way he has that feeling. A long time later, Vivian breathed out, so full. Aslan said softly, the night air is so fresh. She nodded in agreement, that is right. Vivian looked in another direction. She silently prayed, we had dinner together, and now we are taking a walk together. I really want to be alone right now. Is it just me or is he touching me more? Aslan suddenly asked, so, what do you think of Blackford? She startled, stammering, yes, ah. Vivian smiled slightly, somewhat forced, let us see. I said it was very vast earlier. The servants are very good to me, so the tour was quite fun. He repeated, good. Her voice dropped, yes, the servants in my house tend to keep their distance from me. Vivian smiled awkwardly. She thought to herself, although tuberculosis is not contagious in this world. I can feel the heaviness in the air. I should not have said that. She looked up, trying to act normal, but I am fine, it is all in the past. Aslan stopped, no, I am not okay. He approached, his voice deep and powerful, casting a shadow over Vivian. Not obeying you is not obeying me. After all, I am the second prince, and you will be my wife, Aslan. Aslan bluntly declared, even if the royal palace gets in my way, they can't stop me from protecting you. Vivian felt her heart skip a beat. Unexpected. I did not think he was so dedicated to this. At this moment, she unconsciously turned to look at the maid. Vivian reminded herself, trying to pull herself back to reality, there are servants around, that is why he said those words. And I left a will and disappeared. He must be sitting on pins and needles because of this. I can understand the political issues he is facing. I feel a little guilty about that part. Aslan looked directly into her eyes and reminded, so no matter what you hear in the palace, do not mind it, I will take care of everything. Vivian chuckled softly, no, you do not have to push yourself. His voice dropped, I am pushing myself, she said softly, as if advising a stubborn child, yes, if the marriage certificate is too difficult, then do not, we just need to find another way. Vivian said with a believing voice, even so, your sincerity to the engagement will still be clear to everyone, so do not worry. After speaking, she hurriedly changed the subject. It is getting dark, so it is getting colder, let us go inside. Aslan followed Vivian's footsteps, his heart heavy. Pushing myself, is that what she sees my sincerity as? With the pain I have caused her. It is too early to win her heart, I see, Vivian. A long time later, in Vivian's bedroom. She widened her eyes looking at a point in the space. Vivian fixed her eyes on the curtain. Aslan is right behind that curtain. His voice echoed, deep and calm as if it was obvious. If you do not like the connecting bedroom, then just consider this a reasonable compromise. Thinking of this, she smiled faintly. How can I thank you enough? Vivian turned. She kept telling herself, the meeting with the Emperor is only a few days away. I just hope nothing goes wrong. Just at that moment, groaning sounds kept coming. Vivian immediately reacted to the sound. She sat up, her eyes looking towards the curtain. What is that noise? I think it is coming from the other side. Seeing this, Vivian asked, Aslan, are you there? A long silence followed. She quickly approached. He did not answer. Vivian did not hesitate and lifted the curtain. I am coming in. In a split second, her face changed color. Only to see Aslan holding his chest tightly, groaning. Vivian almost screamed, Aslan. She hurriedly ran closer. Are you okay? Where does it hurt? What is wrong? An idea flashed, causing her heart to clench. Is it because of the capital? Minerva, the capital of the empire, is said to be a sacred place, where the hero defeated the demon Astaroth a long time ago. Perhaps the demonic power in Aslan is reacting to the holy power here, and causing him pain. He did not say anything, so I thought he was okay. Realizing the urgent situation, Vivian turned around. Wait here, I will go call the doctor. Aslan suddenly reached out and grabbed her wrist. After a moment of silence, he said tremblingly, don't go. Aslan tried to reassure, I just have not been to the capital in a long time, I will be better in a few days, but... He leaned his head on her, just stay with me, I am a little dizzy. Vivian nervously looked at the large bed. How am I supposed to get over there? Physical affection and clinginess, is that what Minerva makes him do? I can't help but stay here. A long time later, Aslan fell asleep again. She hesitantly called, hello, Aslan. In that moment, Vivian focused on thinking, what did the female lead do? I think she sang him a lullaby. I do not know any songs in this world. But for some reason I can't leave him alone. The scene of Aslan turning into a beast for the first time was replayed. Right now, the mansion was almost covered in darkness. The scene shifted to the next morning. Sunlight peeked inside the room. Vivian rubbed her eyes. She kept complaining, so bright. Vivian continued to turn over, so sleepy. Aslan's voice rang out, then sleep more, Vivian. Hearing this, she woke up slightly, her eyes wide. Vivian sat up. She unconsciously shouted, wait. Vivian turned to look at him. Why are you here, Aslan? Saying this, she shyly said, that is right, I sang you a lullaby last night, and then... Aslan suddenly pushed Vivian onto the bed. He grinned, you exerted yourself last night. She could not help but feel a little confused. What is with this strange situation? She asked worriedly. Nothing happened between us, right? Aslan's cheeks flushed red. He shyly said, that is up for discussion. Vivian's heart beat fast. What does he mean? A few minutes later a voice rang out. Your Highness, it is Diego. He coldly ordered. Come in. She startled again. Come in. He peeked inside. Your Highness, the Eleanor family. Diego looked hesitant. Forgive me, I did not mean to disturb you, Aslan calmly replied. No, it is all right. What were you going to say? Seeing this, Diego immediately announced, the Eleanor family sent 2 messages, and they said they need to bring Miss Vivian back to the Eleanor mansion. A cold air spread throughout the room. Aslan's pupils contracted sharp as a sword, so they came without saying much, and now they think they can take my wife away. He quickly confirmed, yes, they said Duke Eleonora. Diego continued, wants Miss Vivian to come home urgently because her half-sister has returned, huh? Vivian muttered, her heart skipped a beat. My half-sister, Iris, the female lead. Iris, the female lead of the novel, is in the capital. Meaning, Aslan did not hesitate and ordered, chase them away. Vivian has been waiting for a long time since cutting ties with her family. Diego tried to persuade, but they are very determined. The atmosphere cracked, as if blood was about to spill. He growled and stressed each word, I do not want to repeat myself. Chase them away at all costs. If they do not leave, kill them. Seeing this, he quickly replied, yes, Your Highness. Vivian hurriedly interjected, wait. She stepped forward, thank you for protecting me, but I want to meet my sister, Aslan replied displeased, just sharing half a bloodline. Vivian's voice was small but firm. Even so, I am still curious about her. Moreover, I caused a commotion when I ran away from home. I think I should take responsibility and handle everything properly. He lowered his eyes, breathing deeply, as if restraining himself. You are too soft-hearted, she awkwardly replied, I guess so. Vivian reached out to Aslan, then you will. She looked up, her eyes sparkling with anticipation. Come with me. Seeing that he did not answer, she tried to persuade, if we show my father how strong our relationship is, he won't be able to scold me much. Vivian came closer, she smiled gently, okay. Seeing this, Aslan had to compromise, alright, if that is what you want, then do it. Later, he appeared with a cold aura. The guards trembled and greeted, greetings, Your Highness. Aslan said softly as if nothing, perhaps you will wake up if I gouge your eyes out. They immediately bowed, greetings, Miss Vivian. He growled and emphasized, good, I will go with Vivian on a trip. One of them said hesitantly, yes, but your highness. Aslan frowned slightly, or your heads will be sent to the Eleanor mansion, choose. Just a frown, the entire group shivered, yes, your highness. Later, the carriage sped through a forest. Inside, Vivian asked awkwardly, Aslan, how are you feeling? I am sorry for asking you to come along. He gently replied, his voice softening rarely, no, whatever it is, this is better. I wanted to see for myself what is going on at the Eleanor house. After speaking, Aslan did not forget to remind, you are the one who needs to be careful, do not worry too much, she replied briefly, all right. Vivian thought to herself, great, everything is going smoothly, if everything keeps going like this. The male and female leads of the original story will finally meet. Because Aslan is keeping an eye on me, I can only wait for them to be together. I need to survive until the cure for tuberculosis is developed. And to do that, I need to shift Aslan's attention elsewhere. That is right, about the female lead. In the novel, Iris is very kind and pities Vivian until the end, if I can completely get her on my side. Aslan angrily declared, she knows all about the curse, I will kill her. Seeing this, Iris stood up and begged, Aslan, no, if it was not for Vivian, you and I would not have met, and she would never spread the word about the curse to others. He looked displeased, Iris, if you say so. Immediately afterward, Aslan coldly said, take this medicine and get out, lucky for her that Iris is very kind. Thinking of this, Vivian secretly laughed and sighed, perfect. She clenched her palms, her lips turned up, excellent. Aslan carefully observed the expression on Vivian's face, what is she thinking? Meanwhile, at the Eleanor mansion. Only to see delicacies placed all over the dining table. Eleonora excitedly said, Iris, does the food suit your taste? Iris Eleonora, Vivian's half-sister. She said hesitantly, I just wonder, if I deserve to be here. He said sternly but his eyes were full of gentleness, that is nonsense, I am your father, and I will welcome you with open arms, Duke Eleonora, Vivian's father. Iris bowed her head, her voice trembling slightly, I am also very happy to meet my father, but I am afraid because I am an illegitimate child, I will cause you to be disgraced. Eleonora said slowly, it is true that your mother was a maid. He affirmed firmly, but I loved her with all my heart, even now I still regret not being able to be with her until the end of her life. Eleonora said with a sincere tone, that is why, Iris, I want to make up for you what I could not do for her. She bowed her head and thought, it is so late, but now I am glad to meet my father, but why does a corner of my heart feel so uncomfortable? When that girl returned the stolen keepsake, I felt very happy and relieved. Images of Vivian kept appearing, Iris could not help but worry, I wonder, how is she doing? Just at this moment, Eleonora suddenly announced, Vivian is coming today, she startled, today. Iris hurriedly stood up, oh my god, I have not prepared anything, I have to finish eating quickly and dress presentably. He suddenly called, Iris, did I not tell you? Eleonora continued coldly, Vivian is just like her cunning and treacherous mother. He sternly reminded, you do not know how she will harm you, you have to be careful. Hearing this, Iris looked eager, but, I do not want to think badly of my sister, at least until I meet her. Seeing this, Eleonora sighed slightly, Iris, my daughter, you are so kind, Prince Aslan should see that you are a perfect bride to marry. She looked confused, Prince Aslan, he calmly replied, don't you understand, I was going to tell you. Not stopping there, Eleonora suddenly announced, Aslan Reshef Astaroth, the second prince of the empire, I will soon make you his wife. Iris was slightly shocked, is not he, engaged to Vivian already? From outside, a shout rang out, Duke. He shouted angrily, shut up, can't you see I am eating? The man hurriedly replied, forgive me. He quickly announced, but Miss Vivian has arrived. Eleonora looked indifferent, so what? Only to see the tips of Iris' fingers clench her skirt. The man continued, and she is with Prince Aslan. Eleonora's expression immediately changed, Prince Aslan, came here with Vivian. He slammed his hand on the table and shouted, impossible, why would he come here with her? Then Eleonora smirked, no, think another way, this might be beneficial. He suddenly growled, Iris, she trembled unconsciously, yes. Eleonora looked towards Iris, he smiled sinisterly, good news, it seems the marriage will be arranged sooner than expected, come on, go greet his highness. At the same time, the servants bowed one by one, welcome Prince Aslan and Miss Vivian. Vivian tilted her head slightly, her eyes glanced over each face that was bowing, a light sour smile appeared on her lips, I never thought I would receive such a polite greeting at the Eleanor mansion. Is this the power of authority? Aslan glanced sideways, his eyes were so cold that the entire hall fell silent, they recognize you are coming here, but now they mumble greetings to us, how insolent. She chuckled softly, is that so? Vivian asked worriedly, where is Iris? Henry bowed and reported, Miss Iris is having a meal with Duke Eleonora. I hope you understand, because they can't meet you now. He stepped forward, his aura sharp as if tearing the room apart. Understand, how nice, you called a sick young lady here just to make her wait. Aslan exuded a cold aura, he growled and stressed each word. Vivian is exhausted from the long trip. Henry looked flustered. Forgive me, your highness, I will inform the duke immediately. Iris's voice suddenly rang out from behind, tinged with emotion, my savior. She looked at Vivian, her eyes softened suddenly, as if searching for confirmation from an old dream. It is you, right? Iris smiled brightly like the sunlight of spring. She stood stunned. It is Iris, the female lead, but... Vivian blinked slightly, her voice hesitant, as if not knowing how to react. Savior, she tilted her head slightly, don't you remember? Iris excitedly recounted, we met in the south. Hearing this, she almost woke up. It is Iris, she smiled gently. It is nice to meet you. I did not expect to bump into you here. Just then, Eleonora coughed slightly. He politely bowed and greeted, greetings, your highness, this is my daughter, Iris Eleonora. Seeing this, Vivian turned to introduce, Iris, this is the Grand Duke of Blackford, he chased away the robber back then, remember? She turned to look at Vivian, her eyes slightly widened, surprise was evident, you called me, by name. She was so helpless that she cried silently inside, hey, look at Aslan, not me. A long time later, Iris hesitantly asked, can I call you Vivian? She quickly replied, why not? Suddenly, Eleonora said sarcastically, how shameless, Vivian. He questioned loudly, after running away and causing disgrace to the family and his highness with that will, you still have not apologized. Not stopping there, Eleonora lamented, to rearrange everything, I personally requested his majesty to cancel the engagement. Hearing this, Vivian put on a confused expression, what, then, he looked displeased, don't you understand? Eleonora's words fell heavily, meaning you will never become the Grand Duchess for the rest of your life. Iris on this side was shocked to the point of paralysis. At the same time, Aslan's face was full of murderous intent. She thought to herself, so the cancellation is real, and father was behind this. Because my purpose is to get Aslan and Iris together, this cancellation is not a problem. But if the legal relationship between the two is cut off before I build enough trust with Iris. Right now, the image of Iris and Aslan hand in hand appeared clearly. That could be a problem. Vivian secretly observed him, because now Aslan is no longer my fiancé, will he still cherish our contract? In that moment, her heart skipped a beat, oh no, he is going crazy. I am the one who was offended, so why is he angry? Vivian hurriedly grabbed his hand, Aslan, calm down. She said in an almost whisper, please, do not cause a commotion here. On this side, Eleonora shouted loudly, clinging to his highness is useless. Vivian, she looked dissatisfied, when did I cling to him? In an instant, the entire hall became noisy with the discussion of the servants. Seeing this, Iris hurriedly advised, Father, there are many people here, can we go inside and talk more? He coldly interrupted, silence, Iris, I know what I am doing. Saying that, Eleonora once again targeted Aslan, forgive me, your highness, you must be surprised by this sudden cancellation. He suddenly made a proposal, I can marry another more suitable daughter instead. Eleonora's voice returned to calm, but the calculation was as clear as gunpowder. My daughter Iris is very gentle and kind, she is more suitable to be a bride than someone else. He turned to smirk, what do you think, Henry, are not they a perfect couple? He nodded quickly, yes, definitely. At the same time, Aslan carefully observed Iris. He spat out 3 short words, how despicable. Hearing this, Eleonora laughed awkwardly, despicable, yes, your highness. Vivian could not help but be shocked, Aslan. He stepped forward, each word bursting out like swords clashing against stones. I see your efforts to isolate Vivian. Aslan's eyes stared straight at Eleonora as if piercing through his flesh. How despicable, Duke Eleonora. Facing the questioning, he hurriedly clarified, isolate. No, Iris suddenly interrupted. He is right, father. Iris stood up straight, the rare time she raised her voice. This is wrong. I do not want to become humiliated by stealing my sister's fiancé. Eleonora's eyes immediately changed, his pupils contracting like a wild beast. He questioned coldly, so, you will not obey the royal decree and my order? Iris declared without hesitation, yes, I refuse to do this. Eleonora shouted, his hand raised as if to slap, you, useless thing. Seeing this, she could only close her eyes tightly. Just at this moment, Vivian suddenly stood in front of Iris. Before the sudden scene, Aslan almost did not have time to react. He could only shout, Vivian, the slap immediately landed on her face. Vivian's body swayed slightly after the slap as if struck by lightning. Her eyelashes trembled slightly, her cheeks began to redden. Vivian shouted angrily, don't touch her. For the first time in her life, she called out, Father. She bowed, her voice small, we are still not used to the sudden news, about the cancellation. Iris also looked at Vivian's every action blankly. She continued, we will soon meet His Majesty, to hear a full explanation, so I hope Father waits until then. Vivian bowed slightly, her eyes darting quickly towards him. The engagement may be a compromise between the families, but it is also a promise between your highness and me. In that moment, Aslan always watched her figure. After speaking, Vivian staggered slightly. I do not feel well, so I will stay here tonight. Eleonora almost shouted, her voice like a whip, insolent thing. Vivian tilted her head to one side, her head was a little dizzy. The Duke's slap is not something I can't handle. What I did not expect was that my actions, to please Iris, were so effective. Behind her she hurriedly followed her. Iris grabbed Vivian's hand, her voice trembling. Are you okay, Vivian? You have been dragged into trouble again because of me. Vivian gave a gentle smile, her eyes curved, as if dispelling the anxiety in Iris's heart. No, I am fine, do not worry. Seeing this, she firmly declared, I will take care of your injury. She looked awkward. No, there is no need. Meanwhile, Aslan coldly glanced at Eleonora. A long time later, Vivian shyly introduced, this is my room. She chuckled awkwardly, it is smaller than the one in your mansion, right? Aslan spoke like thunder falling in the middle of the room, I will stay here too. Vivian looked at him confused, why would he do that when he can have a very nice room? Aslan looked around the room, then turned to look at Vivian, his eyes containing a hint of sympathy that was hard to see. You started living at home after getting tuberculosis. She nodded in acknowledgement, I think so. In Vivian's heart, waves of confusion surged. Honestly, my memories are a little blurry. It is hard for me to know the things that were not written in the novel. I do not remember anything about my past or before I transmigrated. But, I think it is good that way. When I have not forgotten the etiquette as well as the swordsmanship of this body. Aslan said softly, his voice so soft that Vivian stopped, you must be tired from the trip. Rest, she replied softly, yes, thank you. Later, the room suddenly fell into silence. He suddenly spoke, Vivian, I told you when we were at the mansion, right? She replied instinctively, yes. Aslan's voice was deep and firm, you are the one who will become my wife. He looked at Vivian with heartache, you do not need to throw yourself into danger, I said I will always protect you. She blushed, bowing her head, not knowing how to explain, that is right, but, my body always reacts before anything else. Then Aslan chuckled softly, his lips gently turning up in a rare way, I think that is just your personality. His voice was mixed with gentleness as if whispering, but, I still want you to take better care of yourself, at least for the sake of the people who love you. Aslan's words rang out like a vow, I will protect you no matter what happens. Hearing this, Vivian's eyes flickered slightly. She suddenly felt her heart uneasy, how strange, Aslan only said he would protect me, just like the contract said. Vivian's heart raised a question mark, but why does it feel so gentle and familiar today, as if I had heard these words before? Aslan suddenly spoke, his voice low, Vivian, can you be alone for a while? She curiously followed his back, where are you going? Aslan turned and replied briefly, I just need to take care of a few things quickly. Before leaving, he did not forget to remind, I will be back soon. Seeing this, Vivian nodded slightly, all right, she thought to herself, I have had this feeling before. But he is really hard to predict. At the same time, Aslan's footsteps suddenly stopped. He suddenly approached him, Duke Eleonora, he immediately reacted, Your Highness. Eleonora hesitated, I apologize for what happened earlier, my daughter, Aslan calmly replied, it is all right, I came here to talk about another matter. Then he suddenly changed the subject, the corners of his mouth turned up, I want to hear more about the engagement, with Iris Eleonora. Seeing this, he became excited, of course, Your Highness, Anna, escort him to the room. Eleonora did not even finish her sentence when Aslan cut her off with a terrifyingly calm voice, no, this time I want to choose the location. He smirked maliciously, let us see, let us talk somewhere with fresh air. Over on the other side, Vivian was diligently reading a book on her bed. She suddenly quickly shifted her gaze to a spot. Vivian slightly lifted her hips, there was something under the pillow, a book. The smell of old paper and a bit of dust made her heart clench, why is it on my bed? The first page clearly stated the date XX, a relative on my mother's side has passed away. My maternal aunt, who had retired to rest and recuperate, died in a carriage accident, my brother and I inherited her assets. But now, who will take care of us? Vivian gently traced the raised lettering, assessing the date and handwriting. I must have written this diary when I was 10 years old. Sure enough, at the end of the page, there was a sign of blood from coughing. A bitter taste is rising in my mouth, I have been trying to fight under the Duke's cruelty, only to end up dying. She stared at the book, vague thoughts constantly flashing, Vivian, no, me. Just then, a knock echoed from the inside. Vivian startled and whipped around towards the sound, did someone just knock on the window? She cautiously approached, or was it the wind? Vivian suddenly felt excited, her hands fumbled to pull the curtains. Maybe it is a squirrel or some small animal, so cute, I want to see it. Her face suddenly lit up, her eyelashes fluttering. Then suddenly a large figure slammed right into Vivian's eyes. She startled and stepped back. You, who are you? In that instant, Vivian softly murmured, Alex. She curiously asked, I thought you were at the academy, what are you doing here? He brushed off some dirt, then quickly replied, of course I came to see you. Alex stared at Vivian. He smiled slightly. How have you been lately, Vivian? Alex Eleonora, Vivian's older brother. She questioned with dissatisfaction. Why did you climb in through the window? You scared me to death. He let out a long breath. I had no choice. Alex looked helpless. If I came through the front gate, the servants would gather around and drag me to father. But I wanted to see you first. Vivian curled her lips into a forced smile. So you had your reasons. He suddenly called her name. Hey, Vivian. Alex moved closer, his eyes glued to Vivian. Shouldn't you talk to me about something? Hearing this, she trembled. About what? Vivian quickly made a guess, that you are very good at climbing walls. Huh, he helplessly cut her off. No. Alex put on a pained expression. He lowered his voice. Honestly, why did not you tell me about having tuberculosis? Vivian hung her head low. She was almost unable to refute. He hung his head low. His voice murmured, I heard you left a will and ran away. Did I really have to hear it from other people? Seeing this, Vivian hurriedly explained. I was going to write you a letter, but... Vivian closed her eyes tightly and thought, I was overwhelmed by this transmigrated situation, so I did not think about Alex at all. His voice deepened. You know why I studied abroad. I did that to become strong enough to protect you from father. Alex clenched his trembling hand. But if you disappear from me like that, then I... Faced with his excessive reaction, Vivian seemed confused. Alex. He suddenly opened his mouth and shouted, that is right, I am not going back to the academy. She quickly interjected, what are you saying, Alex? You are about to graduate. Alex answered frankly, if you are about to die, who else would I be with besides you? Vivian said sternly, don't be ridiculous and go back to school. How can you leave school in the middle of the semester without saying anything? Alex turned away to avoid eye contact. He almost whispered, I have my ways. She immediately understood. He snuck out. Seeing this, Vivian said loudly, Alex, I am sorry for making you worry, but as you can see, I am very healthy. Saying this, she began to urge, it is not as bad as you think, so do not worry about me and go back. Alex's eyes suddenly changed. Wait. Before Vivian could react, he questioned in a loud voice, your cheek is swollen, did someone hit you? In that instant, the room seemed to freeze. Alex angrily asked, so, did father do that in front of everyone? She simply replied, yes. Hearing this, he cursed, coward. He took a step forward, looking directly into Vivian's eyes. So you deliberately let yourself get slapped? She nodded in confirmation. Of course. Do you think I would easily let father be above me? Alex reminded sternly, but be careful. I have a feeling the annulment is not the end of this. Vivian softly reassured, don't worry Alex, I do not think Aslan will let this go. He could not help but feel a little doubtful. Aslan, you mean the second prince? Faced with Alex's reaction, she could only smile awkwardly. Yes, internally screaming, I blurted it out. Hearing this, he became even more worried, but Vivian interjected, I know, he does not like me very much. The queen, who is trying to put Johannes on the throne, has always considered Aslan a threat. She specifically chose me as his fiancé for that reason. Being engaged to the girl the queen appointed is offensive enough to him, but now the engagement has been cancelled, he won't let it go. Vivian thought to herself, Aslan must be unhappy with this royal order. Alex smirked, so can we conclude that his highness is on your side? She nodded in agreement, yes, crying inside, except for the reason that he is monitoring me because of the curse. Alex suddenly moved closer. He did not forget to remind, but, Vivian, if anyone causes you trouble, tell me, even if it is his highness, I won't let it slide. She excitedly asked quickly, so what exactly would you do? He seriously thought about it. I think I will help you run away. Alex bluntly declared, then disguise myself, take your place, and marry his highness instead of you. Thinking of that scene, Vivian's face stiffened as if it had just been cemented. She could not help but laugh. I just imagined it in my head. Hey, Alex sulked, are you laughing at my idea? From the outside, Vivian's room was still brightly lit. Inside, she breathed softly, it has been a long time since I laughed like that. Vivian did not forget to ask, are you planning to stay here tonight? Alex quickly replied, I was planning to leave after seeing you. After speaking, he unconsciously looked at her blushing face. Alex's inner self was almost burning. He said with a heavy voice, but I think I need to talk to father. Seeing this, Vivian could not help but feel a little worried. You are not planning to cause trouble, are you? He teased, that depends. Do you want me to? She chuckled softly, no, would you dare? After a while, the maid suddenly announced, the Duke has left the residence with Prince Aslan. Alex asked in confusion. Now, Vivian also had the same expression. Why, it is already sunset. An uneasy thought crept into her mind. Could it be something he needs to handle? Vivian lowered her head slightly. She thought to herself, related to father. Over on this side, Eleonora and Aslan were walking side by side. He kept rambling non-stop, "So, Your Highness, I hope you will have a favorable view of Iris." He suddenly interrupted, "I understand your intentions, but what about Vivian?" Eleonora looked indifferent, "You are not sure what to do with her." He excitedly added, "Allow me to relieve you, Vivian will marry Nicholas." Hearing this, Aslan narrowed his eyes slightly, "Sir Nicholas, the Count of the border region, he must be over 50. Eleonora calmly continued, "Yes, His Majesty has been quite troubled that such a loyal subject has remained a widower." He excitedly took credit, "Vivian will be able to devote her remaining time to a meaningful purpose, she will definitely see this as a great honor." Meanwhile, Aslan raised an eyebrow, "He makes it sound so noble, but he knows too well what will happen when a girl is married to the Count." A thought kept echoing in him, no need to hear anything else. After a while, Aslan suddenly made a proposal, "Duke Eleonora, I said that because we are about to become family, we should talk openly and sincerely, right?" He nodded without suspicion. "Yes, that is why I sent all the servants away." Only to see him reach out towards Eleonora, the corners of his mouth lifting, "Then let me tell you a secret." His face stiffened, muttering, "I am very honored, Your Highness." Then suddenly Aslan tightened his grip on Eleonora's throat. He struggled frantically, "Your Highness, what is it?" He coldly replied, "Consider yourself lucky." Not stopping there, Aslan lowered his voice, "Not many people have the opportunity to see this side of me." In that instant, his eyes burned with a fiery red flame. Aslan lowered his voice, "The demon of Astaroth." A few minutes later, the entire space fell into silence. Over on this side, Eleonora lay sprawled on the ground, he kept groaning, "Is there anyone here? A demon is." Suddenly Aslan stomped hard on Eleonora. Seeing this, he pleaded in agony, "Please have mercy." He said mockingly, "How pathetic, is not this nothing compared to the pain you caused Vivian?" In another development, Diego brought over a stack of documents, "This is the report you requested, Your Highness." He bowed and reported, "We have thoroughly investigated the Eleonora family." At this time Aslan attentively read all the lines above. The poisoning of the Duchess Eleonora. The late Duke had only one daughter, but her poor health made it impossible for her to shoulder the responsibility. But he still could not deny her political talent. He entrusted her with real power and sought someone to hold the title in her place, so he brought in a mediocre man from a distant relative to be his son-in-law. And that person is none other than the current Duke Eleonora. But the poisoning of the Duchess was just the beginning, his next target is Vivian. Thinking of this, Aslan angrily opened his mouth wide. The sound of tearing echoed continuously, fresh blood constantly surged. Constant mental and physical bullying from the current Duke, malicious slander from the public, seizing her assets and ignoring her. In that instant, his mouth was completely stained with fresh blood. And requesting the annulment, Aslan frantically spat on the ground. After reading the report, I truly understood all of Vivian's actions. From her desire to keep the marriage, to her decision to become the villainess. Just then, Aslan coldly spoke, "Duke Eleonora, I will give you a chance to make amends." He stomped hard on his hand while threatening, "Go see the Emperor immediately, and beg for the annulment to be revoked." Aslan enunciated each word, "Unless you want the nightmare you just saw to become reality." Eleonora frantically felt his body, "Am I still alive?" He lowered his voice, "I said I would give you a chance, did not I?" Alson explained leisurely, "What just happened was just an illusion I created from magic stones." "Illusion?" he asked in confusion, "So that was fake?" Eleonora began to develop suspicion, "No, that is impossible unless he is a demon, he must be Astaroth, the demon in legends." After a long time, he spoke in a hoarse voice, "Why did you do that?" Eleonora asked quickly with a pale face, "What can you get from Vivian? Do not tell me you really care about that little thing." Aslan remained silent without answering, as if unable to refute. After a moment of silence, he suddenly asked a question, "Can you, with that contemptible brain, begin to understand how much she holds me?" Aslan slowly spoke, "From every breath, to the very marrow." He leaned over and looked directly into Eleonora's eyes, "I belong to Vivian." The scene shifted to the next morning, sunlight began to filter into the room. At the same time, Vivian kept groaning, "Is it morning already? I do not want to wake up." She unconsciously reached out to rub the mattress, "How strange, is my bed this soft and warm?" Suddenly Aslan was lying right next to Vivian. She startled and sat up, "Aslan, when did you come back?" Vivian could not help but feel a little curious, "Where did you go last night?" He used force to pull her closer, his voice sounded spoiled, "Lie closer to me, Vivian." She kept complaining, "This bed is too small," then gave a forced laugh, "This has happened before, has not it?" After a while, Vivian was still curious, "What did you do last night?" He replied casually, "I said I had something to handle, did not I?" Hearing that, she continued to ask, "Is it related to my father?" Aslan turned around, his eyes tightly closed. Vivian was slightly stunned, "Is he asleep?" From the outside, the maid carefully announced, "Miss Vivian, I brought your medicine." She leaned forward, "Okay, come in." Then Vivian hastily shouted, "No, wait, do not come in." Alex suddenly entered. He smirked, "It is me, Vivian." As soon as she saw Alex, she almost stiffened. On the other side, his body began to turn to stone. The scene shifted to outside the residence. At the same time, Alex shyly reached out, "Please forgive me if I disturbed you. I did not realize you two were in the middle of something." Aslan calmly replied, "It is okay, you have no reason to suspect that I am in Vivian's room." Seeing that, he smiled slightly, "Thank you for understanding, Your Highness, I am Alex Eleonora, Vivian's brother." A cold light flashed in Aslan's eyes, so he decided to act like Vivian's brother now after no one knew his whereabouts for so long. Alex curled his lips very slightly. After abandoning her for so long, now he intends to act like a caring and concerned fiancé. In that instant, an invisible cold air existed between the two. Seeing that, Vivian coughed softly. Aslan immediately reacted, "That is right." He suddenly announced, "We plan to stay here for a few more days, young Master Alex. Vivian probably has a lot of things she should do with you." After speaking, Aslan turned to look at her, "And she also has not had a chance to learn about Iris Eleonora, right, Vivian?" Vivian shyly nodded, "Yes, but..." Still not finished with the surprises, he suddenly announced, "Last night, Duke Eleonora left for the royal palace." She widened her eyes in astonishment. "What?" Aslan looked relaxed. "He went to request the restoration of the engagement, so convincing the emperor will be a little easier for us." Vivian could not help but feel a little confused. "Father did." She then turned to Aslan, with suspicion rising in her heart. "Aslan, you did not actually do anything bad, did you?" Over on this side, he lowered his head, breathing out a sigh. "Since I searched for Vivian after she ran away from home, I have been able to be aware even when the curse appears. Now, I can even control myself. There must be a reason for this." He turned to look at her. "Maybe it is because of you, Vivian. There must be a reason, for me being able to control myself under the influence of the curse. Maybe it is thanks to you, Vivian." Seeing that, Vivian unconsciously looked at Aslan. At this time, he smirked, his eyes somewhat brightened. Meanwhile, Alex looked skeptical, so father changed his mind, surprisingly. He switched to a polite attitude, "A bit too much, then let me be a polite host. Breakfast is ready, so I hope you will join us for the meal." Alex continued to ask, "Is the dining room this way?" Vivian helplessly interjected, "Don't try to understand, Aslan, he just came back to the country." Thoughts kept running into her mind. "One of the reasons Aslan wants to stay at the Eleonora house longer is because my condition has worsened. His Majesty is very merciful to say that I can enter the palace after I have recovered, so I should feel relieved. But I can't stop worrying about the things that will happen soon." In the original story, the female lead went to the palace, and was severely humiliated by the queen. But the details are a bit vague, considering that what happened to the female lead is now happening to me. I wish I could remember more to find a way to deal with it. Thinking of this, Vivian decided to give in to fate. "Whatever, I should enjoy myself while I can." Iris happily laughed, "I am glad you are enjoying the food, Vivian." At the same time, Aslan waved his hand as a signal. "Dylan." He quickly walked closer. "Yes." He lowered his voice, "Bring what I mentioned earlier here." Dylan bowed his head to receive the order. "Yes, Your Highness." After speaking, Aslan smirked with a sinister expression. Outside, Alex looked worried. "Don't overexert yourself, Vivian, go back to bed." She gave a forced smile, "But staying inside all day is very stuffy." Vivian lamented inwardly, "Thinking about the queen also gives me a headache." Just then, Aslan spoke, "Young Master Alex, I heard you train in swordsmanship at the academy." He nodded in confirmation. "Ah, that is right." Seeing that, he made a proposal. "Then how about a sparring match with me? I want to see your skills." Alex bowed his head quickly. "I am too honored, Your Highness." Aslan turned to look at Vivian, the corner of his mouth slightly raised. "Come watch, Vivian, this fight is for you." Her eyes lit up, and at the same time she answered loudly, "Of course." After a long time, Aslan and Alex raised their swords towards each other. At the same time, Vivian and Iris watched together. She could not help but admire. "The sound of clashing swords is so lovely. Watching this entertainment has cleared all the stray thoughts in my head. It is a shame I can't join in, but seeing them so full of enthusiasm is also energizing me." As soon as the fire flared up, Vivian unconsciously realized, maybe they are a little too enthusiastic. Meanwhile, Aslan smirked, "Not bad, young Master Alex." He chuckled, "Believe it or not, I was the top of my class at the academy." Aslan calmly mocked, "I think that is why it took you so long to come back." Alex retorted bluntly, "This is the minimum, most basic for someone like me, do not you think?" Iris on the side could not help but be shocked. "I know your family is a noble family with great swordsmanship, but seeing it with my own eyes is amazing." She looked helpless. So she is still not interested in Aslan. She hesitated and added, I am so jealous, I am not capable of doing things like that, all I do is read books in the room. Hearing that, Vivian made a proposal. What about magic? Iris repeated in confusion, magic. She quickly explained, yes, if you learn magic, you will be able to fight, and still enjoy reading books. After speaking, Vivian's body stiffened, wait, reading books. Now I remember, the place where the female lead met the queen and was humiliated. A bookshelf fell and almost crushed the queen. And she blamed the female lead, who happened to be nearby. A thought flashed quickly in Vivian's head, the royal library. But, can I really avoid the tragic ending, just by not going to the royal library? It was clear from when I wrote that will, fate is not following the direction or chasing after the female lead, it is chasing after me. She closed her eyes tightly, her mouth constantly breathing out. Vivian hugged her mouth tightly, her heart was in chaos, what should I do now? Just then, the sword suddenly fell straight to the ground. Aslan looked at her worriedly, Vivian. The group of people all ran quickly to Vivian. After a long time, the wooden door slowly opened. Alex worriedly approached, how is Vivian? Aslan said heavily, the doctor said she needs rest, but he keeps rambling so I do not trust him at all. He continued with a helpless expression, I doubt whether he gave her a proper examination or not, I am not convinced that she will get the necessary care. Meanwhile, Alex suddenly changed his tone, it is all my fault. He looked self-reproachful, I went abroad for her benefit, but in the end, it only made things worse. Alex continued, his voice heavy, perhaps she hid her illness. Because she did not want me to worry. He gave a forced laugh, and here I am, her brother, being taken care of by her instead, I am so ashamed. In that instant, the entire space fell into silence. Aslan placed his hand on the door, he blamed her inwardly, Vivian, you are always so selfless to the point of being foolish. Perhaps that is what made me fall for you in the first place. But I do not want you to suffer anymore, so please wake up. I have something I want to give you. At the same time, Vivian kept turning over, she kept groaning, it hurts too much. How painful would it be for someone to die in prison, I do not want to imagine. It is funny that I was once willing to die, but now I am doing everything to survive. Looking back, things never worked out when I tried to run, but when I faced it, somehow I got through it. If so, can't I turn this crisis into an opportunity? Beside her, the maid asked worriedly, Miss Vivian, do you need anything? She leaned up, her voice weak, no, can you send a message to Aslan for me, tell him that, no matter what. Vivian looked directly into her eyes, you must also trust me. Vivian expressed herself earnestly for the first time, can you send my message to Aslan, tell him that no matter what. He must trust me. Immediately afterward, the maid immediately relayed the message. Hearing that, Aslan slightly curled his lips, Vivian, are you saying that to put my mind at ease? He closed his eyes slightly, followed by a train of thought, alright, perhaps I forgot for a moment. That no one is as upright and strong as you. The next morning, Iris asked worriedly, Vivian, are you okay? Her lips smiled gently, yes, I think I got over something that made me tired yesterday, I feel better today, she breathed a sigh of relief, thank goodness. Seeing that, Vivian did not forget to tease, are you worried about me? Iris answered quickly without hesitation, of course. Her eyelashes fluttered slightly, her voice somewhat trembling, I am very sad that I can't do anything for you, and young Master Alex has cried a lot too. He suddenly moved closer, holding Iris's mouth tightly, then shouted loudly, Vivian. Iris looked angry, good heavens, you startled me, Alex, he almost shouted, you said you were not that tired, you lied. Faced with the questioning, Vivian smiled awkwardly, I am sorry, Alex, I did not mean to make you worry again. Alex suddenly hugged her tightly, he said almost crying, do you know how worried I was? Seeing that, Vivian helplessly responded, what are you doing, Alex, it is too embarrassing, Iris could not help but admire, really, what a heartwarming scene. Just then, Aslan approached and interrupted, young Master Alex, can you give us some time, I need to talk to my fiancée privately. Just as the door was about to close, he tried to reach out, wait. Over on this side, she looked curious, what do you need to tell me? Aslan did not explain, he suddenly made a proposal, can you close your eyes first, Vivian, she could not help but feel a little doubtful, close my eyes. Vivian closed her eyes, her heart was slightly uneasy, what is he planning to do? Meanwhile, Aslan quietly moved closer to Vivian. His hand reached for her white neck. After a while, Aslan spoke softly, you can open your eyes now. Around Vivian's neck was a necklace made of gemstones, she could not help but feel a little surprised, this is. Seeing Vivian's reaction, he smirked, I thought it would suit you, do you like it? She gently touched the jewelry, it is so extravagant, and this is not even a special occasion. Maybe Aslan is playing the kind image, but he is nothing like in the original story. He even agreed when I asked for something with a pitiful face, even if he did not want to, maybe he is not a bad person. Well, I will just go along with it, at least until I find a cure. Afterward, Vivian looked at him and smiled. This necklace is so beautiful, thank you for everything, Aslan. In that instant, her face lit up like a fairy descending to earth. Right now, his heart started beating wildly. Aslan turned away. He did not forget to complain, you are always testing my ability to restrain myself, Vivian. Only to see Aslan cover his mouth tightly. I can't take it anymore. She put on a dazed expression. Did I say something wrong? I need to fix it, Vivian hastily explained. I am not just talking about the necklace. I am also very grateful that you came here with me. Her voice softened. Thanks to you, I was able to fight back against father, and I was very happy to see my beloved family again. Saying this, Vivian frankly admitted, when I was at your mansion, I said I was fine, but I guess I really felt a little lonely. After speaking, she opened her mouth and chuckled. Just then, Aslan suddenly leaned over and hugged Vivian tightly. Her eyelashes trembled, her heart kept contracting. I only said that to ease the situation. But that is not a lie, I am definitely the villainous Eleonora. Also wants this happiness. She had nothing after her tragic death in the original story. But if I, now her, can bring her storyline to a close, will that comfort her somewhat? At that moment, the fire began to burn, bringing a warm breath. At the same time, Vivian slowly approached the fireplace. Alex suddenly called her name. Vivian, she quickly replied, yes. Then he seriously made a proposal, want to run away with me? Vivian's face stiffened. What, so suddenly? Alex replied calmly, not sudden at all, if anything, it is already too late. Not finished, he continued, my academy is famous for its medicine, if I request it, maybe they will help cure your illness. Hearing this, Vivian looked worried. What about Eleonora? Alex declared without hesitation, I do not care, as long as you are alive. He firmly continued, wherever we are, that is Eleonora, right? After a moment of silence, she slowly spoke, thank you for the offer, Alex, but I think I will stay here. Vivian frankly admitted, His Highness has promised to cure my tuberculosis no matter what, so I think we can stop worrying. Alex frowned, his eyes sharpened. Prince Aslan said that, she calmly replied, batting her eyes, as if deliberately teasing him, yes, if you do not believe me, go ask him yourself. Vivian's voice choked up, besides, Eleonora was left to us by mother, so you and I should protect it to the end. Alex's face trembled slightly, remembering the deceased woman, mother. She said half-jokingly, the corners of her lips curved, trying to pull Alex back to reality, so hurry up and graduate so you can start learning to be an heir. He helplessly replied, if you insist. Alex did not forget to remind, but if His Highness makes things difficult for you, you have to tell me. Vivian laughed after hearing, oh my, you are so thoughtful. After the joyful time at the Eleonora residence ended, Aslan and I set off for the royal palace. Iris chose to study aristocratic etiquette at the residence, and Alex also stayed behind, saying that he had something to handle with father. Her face paled, her lips trembled slightly, that is right, I completely forgot about father. Vivian shuddered at the thought of Eleonora's unreasonable anger. I could already imagine how much of a tantrum he will throw. Aslan interrupted, his voice deep and sure. Don't worry about that, Vivian, that will never happen. She startled, looking up at him, yes, how, will you? Seeing that, Vivian reassured herself, I think he means Alex will take care of it. In another development, a cold voice rang out, Aslan. The Emperor roared, his voice echoed throughout the hall, I have been tolerant of you, but you dare to take advantage of me and Astaroth. He angrily cursed, you ungrateful monster. Then the Emperor uttered a curse, when you return, you will pay for this. Over on this side, Vivian's eyes widened, her heart sank, her voice almost broke, I will marry that old count. Seeing that Aslan did not answer, she hung her head low, father said that, he replied calmly, but you do not need to worry. Aslan said with a calm tone, Nicholas will soon be removed from his position, so this marriage will become invalid. Vivian was confused, unable to understand, removed from his position, a person who has contributed to the country. This situation is too complicated, but since Aslan said it will be okay, I have to believe it. After all, Blackford's intelligence network is second to none. So Aslan, I hope you will also trust me absolutely. Even if Vivian carefully reached out towards him. Have to save the queen you hate. At first, everything seemed to be going smoothly. As Aslan said, I did not have to discuss the marriage with that count. He lost his title for treason, and had been sentenced to death. But about the annulment of our engagement. Just then, a voice rang out, Miss Vivian Eleonora, she looked up, yes, your majesty. The Emperor did not bother to look at her, his eyes as sharp as knives towards Aslan, excuse us for a moment, I want to talk to Prince Aslan alone, seeing that. Vivian immediately bowed, yes, your majesty. Her heart was worried to the point of suffocation, the Emperor did not seem happy at all, what might he want to discuss with Aslan? In the original story, Aslan endured severe abuse from the Emperor throughout his childhood. Thinking of this, Vivian became even more worried, is it safe to leave him alone? At the same time, Aslan followed her back with his eyes. He smiled unconsciously. In that instant, Vivian stared at him with worry. Aslan. In a flash, the wooden door slammed shut. After coming outside, she slapped her cheeks. Come on, Vivian. You have bigger things to worry about. I am about to be accused of assassinating the queen. Before that happens, I have to save her myself. I have to hurry before it is too late. The emperor almost yelled, You arrogant fool, how dare you cause the country's hero to lose his power? He suddenly slapped Aslan directly in the face. Are you crazy? He replied softly, his voice light but as sharp as a knife. Your Majesty, you were also not happy with the count expanding his faction, were you? Aslan slightly curled his lips, as if mocking the emperor's powerlessness. Even if I act, if you look the other way, he will still have power. Hearing that, he angrily gritted his teeth. The emperor hissed, finally revealing your brutal nature. It seems I have been too kind to you lately. His hand tightened on the mithril whip and ordered, kneel down. Hearing that, Aslan slightly raised his eyebrows as if not yielding. Afterward, he knelt on the ground. He coldly swung the whip. Only to see the emperor's eyes widen like a beast. Before the blows, Aslan gritted his teeth, trying to suppress the scream. He gritted his teeth, uttering a heavy curse. You are truly evil, you are not human. He lowered his head, his lips blooming into a beautiful but distorted smile, full of provocation. I am very, very honored, Your Majesty. The emperor choked in anger. You. After a while, he spoke coldly. Not just that. The emperor's voice turned cold. How do you intend to explain the Duke Eleonora incident? He replied, showing that he did not care much. Did he say something? He enunciated each word. He came to me in fear, begging me to restore his daughter's engagement to you. Then confessed that he had been threatened by the demon of Astaroth. Saying this, the emperor asked sternly, Aslan, did you unleash the power of the curse? Before his question, he remained silent without replying even a word. The emperor leaned forward. Answer me, tell me why you are so obsessed with this marriage. In Aslan's heart echoed a naked truth, stubborn and painful, because I love Vivian. But he won't understand, the emperor and the duke are all narrow-minded fools. But if I persuade them, I must think their way. After a moment of silence, he replied loudly, I see, potential in Vivian Eleonora. Hearing that, the emperor continued to interrogate, potential, what potential? That girl is about to die of tuberculosis. Aslan said slowly, she has the power to suppress the curse of Astaroth. He looked doubtful. Are you sure? He replied indifferently, yes, perhaps. Aslan declared loudly, she is the one who can end this curse. To concentrate power in the royal family, weakening Eleonora's faction is necessary. The emperor could not help but feel a little skeptical. You say you knew this important fact, right before her impending death. Just at this moment, he suddenly shouted, Vivian. Aslan once again affirmed, Vivian will not die, because I will do everything to save her. Finally, he placed his hand in the middle of his chest and begged, so, please restore the engagement, Your Majesty, Astaroth needs her. Just then, Vivian was still standing in front of the golden door. She pursed her lips, it seems I arrived here before the queen, I have to pretend to accidentally meet her. Preventing the queen from entering the royal library seems impossible, it will only make me more suspicious. According to the original story, the bookshelf that fell was in the magic book section, my only chance is to lure the queen somewhere else. Vivian grumbled softly, her shoulders drooping, this is such a headache, why does not the original story include the solution? Maybe I should have pretended to be sick and stayed in Aslan's residence. Suddenly a deep, dignified but not cold female voice rang out behind her, Vivian Eleonora. Hearing that, she hesitated to turn around, that voice is from. A familiar feeling flashed through Vivian's mind, the queen. She hurriedly bowed, greetings, Your Majesty the queen. She slightly tilted her head to observe, her eyes deep. The queen faintly felt a little sorry, she looked weaker than when they first met. And her face was full of worry, clearly her health was not good at all. Why is Johannes paying attention to a young lady like that at this time? The queen spoke first, are you coming to the library? Feel free to go in. Vivian smiled awkwardly, Your Majesty. She did not forget to remind, if you are here to find magic books, please be careful. She looked skeptical, why is that? Vivian swallowed, her inner self almost screaming, because the original story said so, but I can't say that to her. I know outdated knowledge is the cause, but with my limited power, I can't find evidence to prove it. Thinking of this, she came up with a last resort, so I will make up a reason. After a moment of silence, Vivian slowly spoke, I once heard that accidents often happen in places with magic books, because of leftover magic, that is why I gave you a warning, Your Majesty. Just then, a voice suddenly rang out, she said accidents. The head librarian interjected, there has never been such an accident in the royal library since it opened. He continued rambling, the only way I can see it is if someone set a trap. Vivian narrowed her eyes slightly, what is with this tone? Seeing that, she hurriedly explained, I am just looking out for Your Majesty's safety, the queen bluntly said, that is not necessary. She turned away coldly. I thank you for your concern, but that is not something you need to worry about. Seeing that, Vivian secretly shed tears. This is not easy at all. She unconsciously followed the queen's back with her eyes, a strange feeling rising in her heart. In the original story, the bookshelf suddenly fell, but it did not look bad enough to fall like that. So what exactly is the reason? Vivian's eyes were glued to the maid. What book are you looking for? She looked hesitant. Forgive me, miss. The maid spoke cautiously. I am looking for the book that Her Majesty mentioned, but I am not familiar with advanced magical language. She thought to herself, me too. Immediately afterward, Vivian made a proposal. I will help you find the book. She politely replied, really, thank you. She cursed herself inwardly. Vivian, you are so stupid, you do not have time for this. Just then, Vivian's body suddenly stiffened as if electrocuted. Vivian stopped, her eyes stopped at the object in her hand, powder. Her scalp tingled. What is that? Static electricity, or magic residue? The maid asked worriedly, Miss Vivian, are you okay? Vivian quickly put the book forward to hide the panic. Yes, is this the book you are looking for? She lowered her voice. Thank you very much, Miss Vivian. After finishing the task, the maid turned to leave. Vivian shook her hand slightly. She could not help but admire. What strong static electricity. Vivian suddenly widened her eyes. Wait, this has happened before, has not it? The scene of Vivian and Aslan walking around the city was replayed. She suddenly flinched. He called worriedly, Vivian. Vivian could not help but feel a little confused. What is it? Aslan softly explained. It is a magic stone exploding. When magic power is transmitted into it, it will explode after a certain time. It is so strong that even people without magic power will feel a stinging pain when touching it. After speaking, he turned to look coldly. Why did not you put up a warning sign? The shop owner looked flustered. I am sorry. Returning to reality, Vivian's heart pounded. Magic stone. No, who could have brought it here? Over on this side, the queen interrogated coldly. Where did you find it? The maid honestly confessed. Miss Vivian found it in that bookshelf over there. Seeing that, she immediately ordered, all right, show me where. At the same time, the queen stepped closer to Vivian. She cast a wary eye toward the bookshelf. Could it be? Just then, a surge of spiritual power suddenly appeared. Realizing the dangerous situation, she immediately shouted, Your Majesty, do not come over here. The queen looked puzzled. Miss Vivian. What are you doing? She looked up at the swaying bookshelf. From inside a partition, a crystal was revealed. Before that scene, the queen's body almost stiffened. At that moment, a series of objects kept falling down. Witnessing that scene, Vivian rushed over without thinking, Your Majesty. Only to see her hug the queen tightly with her body. She was almost distraught before the horrific scene. After a while, the dust gradually dissipated. At the same time, Vivian scrambled to get up from the rubble. The maid screamed in horror, Your Majesty. Over on this side, she asked worriedly, Are you okay, Your Majesty? The queen said weakly, What just happened? She looked over at the pile of books. The bookshelf suddenly fell. The maid beside her hastily suggested, Your Majesty, I will call the royal physician right away, please wait. Just at this moment, the head librarian suddenly spoke, Wait. He asked suspiciously, What is that light from your dress? She said in a trembling voice, Light. Only to see the maid's skirt emitting a blue light. The head librarian immediately made a proposal. Let me see what that is before you go. She looked anxious. You must be mistaken, I have nothing in my pocket. Afterward, the maid took out 2 magic stones. Vivian widened her eyes in surprise. Exploding magic stones. She pretended to be ignorant. What are they doing here? He suddenly changed his tone. With all due respect, Your Majesty. The head librarian announced loudly, I am afraid this is not a simple accident. Afterward, he coldly said, Who dares to plot against Her Majesty with magic stones? The maid frantically struggled, Your Majesty, it was not me. Vivian looked over at the queen. All the attention was on the maid. Meaning I do not have to worry about being blamed, right? But, if the maid is the culprit, why not run away? There are too many things that do not add up to be dismissed so simply. Like the female lead in the original story, being wrongly accused in a strange way. Just at this moment, she suddenly ordered, Take her to the torture chamber. Hearing that, Vivian hurriedly interjected, Wait, if possible, I have something to say first. The queen turned around coldly, What is it? Vivian replied slowly, Handling exploding magic stones so precisely requires proficiency in magic. She looked sternly at her while affirming, But that maid has no knowledge of magical language. The queen immediately urged, Say more, Miss Vivian. Vivian reassured herself, Here goes. After a moment of silence, she truthfully recounted, That maid told me that she had difficulty finding magic books because she was not familiar with advanced magical language. Vivian continued to add, But when I looked at the title on the paper, it was so simple that even I could recognize it. Saying this, she once again affirmed, Someone who can't even understand the difference between basic and advanced language would never be able to touch magic stones like this. The head librarian suddenly interjected, Miss Vivian. He put on a suspicious expression. How are you sure she is not acting? Even if what you say is true, then why were the magic stones in her pocket? Faced with the questioning, Vivian replied calmly, I do not know either. Not stopping there, she could not help but feel a little skeptical, but is not it too strange? Why did not she run away but ran straight to the queen, especially when there was clear evidence on her person? The head librarian's face stiffened. Vivian's eyes were fixed on him. Is he the real culprit? Because managing magic books requires proficiency in magic, he is the only one who fits that description. But if I jump straight to the conclusion of accusing him, it won't solve anything. It will only cause more trouble for me. I need to approach more carefully. After a while, she brought the stone closer and made a proposal. What really needs to be investigated is the fragments of the magic stone that caused the bookshelf to fall. Vivian slowly explained, if we can trace the traces from this leftover magic, we can find the person who harmed the queen. Hearing that, the head librarian asked suspiciously, how do you intend to do that? She calmly replied, a simple method. Vivian slowly approached the maid. If someone who is not the owner of the magic power from this exploding magic stone touches it, this kind of resistance reaction will occur. In other words, if the culprit touches it, there will be no reaction. He curled his lips and smiled, quite impressive. When using magic stones, the magic power will dissipate in a few minutes. Like that, we do not have enough time to find the culprit. Immediately, Vivian interrupted. She replied loudly, exactly. She stepped closer to the head librarian. The culprit is very proficient in magic, and also has the same thought. Vivian suddenly brought out the fragments. That is why he did not bother to collect these fragments. She looked directly into his eyes and smiled. Isn't that right, head librarian? The head librarian looked dissatisfied. Are you suspecting me? Vivian chuckled softly. No, I did not say I am suspecting. Saying that, she suddenly grabbed his hand tightly. The head librarian screamed in horror. What are you doing? Only to see the magic stone hardly react on his hand. The stone did not waver even once. Seeing that, Vivian smiled faintly. I am sure. The group immediately buzzed. The magic did not react, so that means. The head librarian could not help but feel a little surprised. You seem to know quite a bit about magic, Miss Vivian. She looked modest. I do not know that much. Vivian hesitated to explain. I just picked up a few things while listening and observing Grand Duke Astaroth. He breathed softly. I see. I did not expect this. Then the head librarian laughed heartily. I clearly underestimated you. After a long time, the group of maids worked hard to clean the bookstore. Over on this side, Vivian asked worriedly, Your Majesty, are you okay? The queen frowned slightly. Miss Vivian, her heart could not help but panic. Crap, she looks annoyed. Did I go too far? I accused the head librarian of the royal palace of an extremely heinous crime. I was too reckless. I should have kept my mouth shut until I left the royal palace. She suddenly asked a question. Miss Vivian, why are you here? The queen spoke authoritatively. I heard you came with Aslan today. She quickly replied. His Majesty was worried about my health, so he allowed me to come early. She put on a look of pity. Being someone facing a terminal illness, her remaining time must be very precious. But, the sight of Vivian shielding her with her body was very clear. The queen suddenly ordered, raise your head, Miss Vivian. She suddenly changed her tone. I will continue to observe you. Hearing that, she put on a dazed expression. Vivian's heart was slightly confused. Observe, me. In that instant, she unconsciously imagined, the queen said coldly, I will observe whether you behave properly or not. Vivian unconsciously felt a chill. Now I have two people monitoring me, first Aslan, now the queen. She hurriedly reassured herself, impossible, I am imagining too much, right. In another development, the sound of footsteps echoed. Only to see Aslan and two guards moving. He suddenly stopped, hugging his chest tightly. One person spoke, I thought I smelled blood somewhere. Johannes smirked, as expected, it is you, Aslan. Aslan slightly raised his eyebrows, he said in a heavy voice, Johannes. Seeing that, he just smiled, his eyes shining clearly. Johannes looked pained. Really, now, I am so hurt. We meet again after a long time, and you greet me with that scary look. What do you want? Then he smiled faintly. Nothing, I am just simply concerned. What kind of brother would turn a blind eye? Johannes pointed at his chest, when his younger brother is bleeding so much. He emphasized each word heavily. You brought this mess on yourself for using the curse recklessly, and now you shamelessly push the consequences onto others. Johannes asked sternly, how far do you intend to disgrace the royal family? Hearing that, Aslan laughed softly. You have no right to speak, Johannes. Pushing the dirty work onto others is your hallmark, is not it? Don't change the subject, Aslan. He angrily roared, I am really asking you. Just then, Vivian's voice rang out, greetings, Crown Prince Johannes. Johannes immediately reacted, Miss Vivian. She quickly observed Aslan. I had a bad feeling so I rushed over, but Aslan looks even worse than before. Something must have happened. Johannes smiled at her, gentle but cold. Long time no see, Miss Vivian, do you feel better now? She politely replied, yes. He pretended to sigh in relief. I am so glad to hear that. I could not feel at ease, because the last time we said goodbye was like that. Vivian complained inwardly, and whose fault is that? Immediately afterward, Johannes made a proposal. If you are done with your work, why do not you come to my palace? This time, I will welcome you warmly. Aslan coldly interrupted, no, thank you. He immediately questioned, I am asking Miss Vivian. He calmly replied, Vivian is too considerate to refuse an offer, even if she knows she can't. Over on this side, she thought to herself, I should separate these two first. Vivian lowered her head, as calm as possible, excuse me, but I still have things to do today. If you invite me another time, I will gladly accept. Hearing that, Johannes sighed, what a pity, then next time I should send you a formal invitation. She replied gently, thank you, your highness. Johannes stopped, he suddenly called, but, Miss Vivian. Then Johannes looked serious, it seems you have been getting along quite well with Alan lately. Not stopping there, he continued, if so, are you aware of Aslan's true nature? His face twitched slightly, his eyes narrowed. At the same time, Vivian widened her eyes to look at Johannes. She could not help but feel a little confused. Why would he ask me that? Has he somehow discovered that I know about the curse? That is right, I need to say something, but my mind is completely blank. Seeing her reaction, he curled his lips and smiled. After a while, Johannes chuckled, I am just simply thinking about what we will discuss during tea time. Do not you think your fiancé's childhood would be an interesting topic? Saying that, he turned around and walked away. Until next time, Miss Vivian. Meanwhile, Vivian cursed inwardly, Johannes, you cunning bastard. He has planned to drag me to hell from the front. To him it may be fun as a game, but to me it is a matter of life and death. One wrong move, and Aslan will kill me. Just at this moment, Aslan suddenly approached Vivian. She turned to smile awkwardly. The crown prince is quite mischievous, is not he? Right, Aslan suddenly leaned on Vivian's shoulder. Her eyes stopped on the bloody shoulder. This is not, is that blood? After a while, Vivian screamed, wake up, Aslan. Only to see the blood stain his chest red. She could not help but feel a little dissatisfied. Good heavens, how can you do this to people? Aslan said weakly, it is okay, I am used to it now. Vivian frowned slightly, so the bad feeling I felt earlier was real. I can't stop feeling guilty. Now, I should do what I can do. Then she made a proposal. Take off your clothes, Aslan. He exclaimed in surprise. Huh, Vivian explained with dissatisfaction. I have to give you first aid and change your clothes. She did not forget to reassure. Don't worry, I won't call anyone else. Then Aslan calmly proposed, then why do not you take them off for me? Vivian almost screamed, me. He started groaning, it hurts a lot to move, so I can't take them off myself. Seeing that, she had to compromise, then I guess there is no choice. Vivian kept telling herself, alright, focus, if I accidentally touch his wound, I will make him angry. Carefully, little by little. Meanwhile, Aslan's cheeks were flushed. Vivian looked at him with pain, it is worse than I thought. She worriedly suggested, maybe it is better to call the royal physician. Aslan suddenly refused, no, only you are enough. He lowered his voice, I do not need anyone else. Vivian thought to herself, he is more vigilant than usual. Again, anyone here can report back to the crown prince. She carefully took disinfectant, now I will wash the wound. Seeing Aslan groan, Vivian snapped with dissatisfaction, endure it, it will be over soon. He suddenly spoke, I seem to always show you my weakness. Aslan moved closer, are you, not bored of me? Hearing that, she soothed softly, please do not say that, everyone has moments of weakness, and at times like these, accepting help from others is the right thing to do. And somehow, Aslan's difficult, lonely childhood, reminds me of myself. I know what it feels like to try and endure everything alone. That is why he feels more pitiful to me. At the same time, he reached out to her, so, will you stay with me, Vivian? Aslan hugged Vivian tightly, his voice sounded like a sob, even if I am not perfect. She chuckled softly, of course, inwardly thinking, now, I will comply. It feels like what he needs most right now is reassurance. When we return to Blackford, he will go back to being his normal self. And he will forget all about this, right? At a mansion, the place was tinged with gray. Vivian's father suddenly disappeared one night without saying a word. Was eventually found dead on the mountain. The cause was said to be a falling accident. His funeral was held privately with only a few family members present. She looked at the portrait with an emotionless expression, her heart unmoved. It was a funeral but no one cried, and once again, I did not cry at all. Even so, there is something about his death that still lingers in me. My brother, who planned to return to the academy, suddenly found himself inheriting the Duke title, which made him extremely embarrassed. Thankfully, Aslan, with his wealth of experience, provided a lot of support. Making the inheritance process go smoothly, Iris was finally officially added to the family. Thinking of this, Vivian smirked. That is right, overall things turned out well for everyone, so why? I am the only one, only to see her rush forward, her hair flying in the wind. In Vivian's heart, a question mark was placed, having such a grueling life, a slayan. Why am I so distressed like this? Let us go back to yesterday morning. Just at this moment, she was surrounded by the group of maids. Then Vivian looked at one point with surprise. She reached out to touch her skin, her heart could not help but feel a little confused. There is something on my chest, what could it be? Immediately afterward, Vivian hurriedly turned around. She asked quickly, Emma, do you see a white mark on my chest? She replied with a skeptical look, yes. Seeing that, Vivian quickly signaled, look closely. On the left side, Emma suddenly changed her attitude. She looked annoyed. I do not see anything. Can you pull up your dress? Hearing that, Vivian's face fell. She reassured herself, maybe it is too faint for Emma to see, but why do I have this? There is a similar mark in the novel, but the color and shape are different from mine. It is so dark that the female lead has to wear dresses that cover her chest. Mine actually looks more like the one on Aslan in the cave. Thinking of this, Vivian could not hide her curiosity. Does Aslan know about this mark? And it would not change anything if he knew. I can't ask directly about something so suspicious, right? But I am here again, appearing with these silly thoughts in my head. Honestly, just then a voice rang out through the crack in the door. I believe the key is to keep quiet. Vivian immediately put her ear close to the door to eavesdrop. Dylan's voice transmitted, yes, our cameras are also keeping an eye on those outside who are trying to approach. Inside, Aslan reminded sternly, be more thorough, Dylan, he replied softly, then asked in confusion, understood, but, are you really going to do that? Aslan did not answer, he turned away. Dylan continued to add, I understand your intentions but it is very risky. He lowered his voice trembling slightly. In the worst case scenario, the lady could die. Just at this moment, a sound rang out. Dylan turned around vigilantly, wait. He quickly walked towards the door and shouted loudly, someone there. As soon as the door opened, the outside was empty without a single person. Dylan immediately closed the door. He quickly reported, nothing, Your Highness. Meanwhile, Vivian peeked out with a dazed expression. What are they talking about? I could die. In a flash, a horrific thought flashed in her head. Aslan is finally about to get rid of me. Vivian's facial muscles twitched slightly from the shivers. She could not help but feel a little dissatisfied. I did not show kindness to him and expect to get anything in return. But how can he forget all the things I have done for him? Then Vivian closed her eyes tightly, her mouth pursed. In that instant, her chest suddenly throbbed. I thought we had gotten a little closer at the mansion, but I was too naive. Meaning I will have to deal with this five-pointed star without Aslan knowing. Is there really no other way besides finding him? Jesus, the archmage in the original story. He is the leader of a mage guild, and the one who helped the female lead awaken her power. She focused on thinking, maybe he knows something about this five-pointed star. He is a mysterious person who is hard to find, but I already know the location, thanks to the original story. Thinking that, Vivian immediately made a plan. Getting to him is not the problem, I just need to wait for an opportunity to sneak out alone. The next day, Aslan stood properly on the stone ground. Beside her, Vivian thought to herself, of course, there is no way he will let me go out on my own. Just a normal outing, right? He is wearing his military uniform, carrying a sword, and that scary look on his face. Aslan suddenly spoke, the corners of his mouth slightly curved. I have reserved the entire place we are going to today, so no one will bother us, Vivian. However, Vivian's heart was not at peace. She shuddered unconsciously. That is what every murderer says. Anyway, I guess the small ray of hope is. I am close to Jesus's guild. An opportunity like this won't come again. I need to get away from him quickly. After a moment of hesitation, Vivian bravely spoke her mind. Aslan, I see a store I want to stop by. Would you mind if I go alone? As expected, Aslan immediately refused. It is not safe for you to go alone. Let us go together. Vivian pretended to be embarrassed. She mumbled in her throat, but, it is a little embarrassing to go with a man. Before his frozen face, Vivian said bluntly, it is a lingerie store, you see. Hearing that, Aslan immediately compromised. It seems I was not very considerate. Go ahead, Vivian, she happily giggled, really. Saying that, Vivian turned and ran. Then I will meet you at the restaurant in 20 minutes. He called out helplessly, wait, Vivian, what about the maids? A few seconds later, Aslan was still frozen. He stared blankly at the emptiness in front of him. She is gone. In another development, at an antique booth. Just then, Vivian crouched down, panting, I am here. She looked up at the sign, silently affirming, the sign has a jade green color, like in the original, there is no mistake, Jesus must be inside. As soon as Vivian's hand touched the doorknob, she kept reassuring herself, alright, calm down. A creaking sound rang out, Vivian's eyes lit up. She looked around the room. At first glance, there was nothing remarkable in here. But, just then a figure slowly moved towards Vivian. Her face turned serious. This is a mage guild, where illusion has become an instinct. Anyone who judges by appearances is fooled. Just then, Jesus suddenly appeared. He asked with goodwill, "This is not a place for a respectable lady like you. Are you lost?" Then Jesus looked directly into her eyes, his mouth curving into a sinister smile. Seeing him, Vivian unconsciously smiled. "So I have come to the right place." In that instant, an image appeared clearly in her mind. It is Jesus. Returning to Jesus, he still maintained his friendly expression. Seeing that Vivian did not reply, Jesus repeated the question once again, "Are you lost?" At the same time, she began to have an idea. No doubt, this is Jesus. He is disguised now. But I know how to reveal him. By singing, the lullaby of the empire. After a while, Vivian sang with a clear voice like water. It is said that demons appear on the night of the red moon. Meanwhile, the corners of Jesus's mouth unconsciously curved up. He excitedly continued, "That is right, so no matter what you do not open your eyes." Suddenly a surge of spiritual power slammed towards Vivian. Just then, Jesus suddenly changed his tone. "You are not a mage." He appeared with a new appearance, his voice cold. "So what brought you here?" She looked at Jesus with suspicion. "We are suddenly in another place. Is this the ability of an archmage?" Vivian quickly replied without thinking, "I want you to look at the magic circle on my body." He repeated with a look of suspicion, "Magic circle, but I can't feel anything." In a flash, Jesus's face changed. He looked at her with concern. "What kind of mind-altering magic is this?" Seeing Jesus's reaction, Vivian asked worriedly, "Is it that bad?" He stepped closer. "It is worse than bad." Jesus approached from some time. He stared at Vivian while saying loudly, "It is very powerful dark magic." Jesus's eyes shifted to her chest, "So powerful that when activated, it will kill you by shattering your heart." Saying that, he narrowed his eyes. "You do not seem surprised at all. Usually news like this would make people excited." Contrary to her appearance, Vivian's inner self was almost screaming. "I am very flustered inside," she said wearily, "because an archmage like you would know the solution." Hearing that, Jesus chuckled softly, "You are quite perceptive. Fortunately, I have two good news." He raised his finger in the air and signaled, "First, your magic circle is not yet complete. Dark magic circles are always dark red, but yours is not." Saying that, Jesus emphasized each word heavily, "If I break the structure first, then we can solve the problem." Vivian quickly replied, "I understand, then please hurry." Suddenly he put his fingertips in front of her. His voice sounded like a call from the underworld. Second. Jesus frowned. He continued to add, "That magic circle is suppressing your tuberculosis. Dark magic is already very possessive, and it hates its target dying from causes other than itself." He smirked casually. "You have the choice of either dying from tuberculosis or from that dark magic." Over on this side, Vivian looked dissatisfied. "Hello." She calmly replied, "I want you to break its structure." "Jesus, I will reward you with anything you want." Jesus repeated excitedly, "Reward, I like that idea." He tilted his head back and chuckled, "But money is not my only motivation." Then Jesus brought a dagger in front of her. "What I want is the blood of a pure Eleonora." Jesus walked closer to Vivian, his shadow covering her. "Do I have your permission, even if it means injuring your noble body?" At this time, she frowned slightly. "He knows something about my bloodline." But, Vivian suddenly snatched the knife from Jesus's hand. She said resolutely, "I do not like to disappoint you, Jesus." Vivian slowly brought the knife closer. She lowered her voice, "But I do not have time to hesitate for this." Without hesitation, Vivian slashed her hand hard. Fresh blood gushed out. Her voice once again rang with determination. "I will give you the blood of a member of the Eleanor family." Bright red blood flowed down. Vivian looked coldly at Jesus. "Is this enough?" He laughed, his eyes lit up with delight. Jesus staggered, his mouth bursting into mad laughter. "You are truly not afraid of anything, lady." After a hearty laugh, he could not help but admire. "Very good." Jesus's voice rang like a curse. "We have a deal." Afterward, Vivian ran out quickly. She kept thinking, "I have cast a healing spell on the wound, but do not try to hide it from the Grand Duke. A swordsman mage of his caliber will definitely recognize the leftover magic power." Before that, Jesus did not forget to remind, "And deciphering the structure will take time, so be patient." Vivian could not help but shout as if lamenting, "Everything is so tiring." Over on this side, Aslan sat motionless. She could not help but feel a little stunned. "Aslan, he is waiting for me." Dylan looked at Aslan, his eyes darting around as if probing. "Are you worried, Your Highness?" he coldly said. "Do I look worried?" He gave a forced smile. "Yes, when you smiled just now, you looked very threatening." Dylan lowered his voice to reassure, "It will be okay, Your Highness, you have been practicing the dance I taught you very diligently." He began to instruct, his body demonstrating each movement. "Approach her with a charming dance, and make her look forward to it by pretending to give a rose." Finally, Dylan said firmly, like a love expert, "Guarantee this is a successful proposal." Aslan lowered his head, his face cold. Are you sure Vivian said she likes these things? He quickly replied, of course. Dylan excitedly recounted, I asked her about this dance, pretending it was for a friend of mine, and she said she recognizes the effort and she likes it. Saying that, he chuckled softly, so you will definitely succeed. In that instant, her name kept repeating in his mind, Vivian. I know you are still resisting our engagement, but I can't delay any longer. Even after being examined by the most famous doctors, your condition has not improved. So the only way to make you survive by my side is to use that mark. When the ritual is completed, the bond that makes the magic beast and its mate share a lifespan, meaning Vivian cannot die before I die. Dylan interjected, his voice worried, what if you die? In the worst-case scenario, the lady could also die. He almost yelled, this is too risky. Thoughts rose in Aslan's mind, Dylan is right, with countless enemies surrounding me, I can't deny this is a risky choice. But I can't sit still, and hope Vivian endures everything alone. That is why we must quickly have the engagement ceremony. Suddenly Vivian's voice interrupted the train of thought, sorry, Aslan. She bowed, panting, I am late. He stood up worriedly, Vivian, did you run because you did not want me to wait? Aslan frowned slightly, quickly reaching out to support Vivian, I should have come to pick you up myself. She forced a smile, I am fine. He looked directly into Vivian's eyes, no, you are not, now sit down and rest. Just at this moment, Aslan's eyes stopped on her bandaged hand. He could not help but feel a little suspicious. What is this wound, Vivian? It faintly emanates magic power. Vivian swallowed hard, he noticed right away. I need to make up a reason, she began to tell, trying to keep her voice natural. Something happened on the way here. A woman stopped me and asked me for help. Vivian looked serious. In the process, I was slightly injured, and she healed me with magic. Aslan was still suspicious, his face darkened. What happened? She continued to tell, trying to make the story funny. That is right, she said someone was flirting with her with a terrible dance and asked me to help her escape. Saying that, Vivian clicked her tongue in disapproval, it was so awful. He came up, shrugging and dancing, then pretended to give her a rose before stepping aside. It was extremely bizarre. Saying that, she could not help but laugh. Don't you feel sorry for her? If it was me, I would have run away. Just at this moment, Aslan lowered his voice, Vivian, she smiled awkwardly, yes. His eyes locked on Vivian, his body pressed close, tell me the truth. The entire space almost fell into a state of stillness. Vivian continued her act, she chuckled, of course I am telling the truth. Seeing that, Aslan's face relaxed a bit, he replied softly, is that so? I understand. Aslan turned to one side, I will go inside and tell them to bring out the food. Vivian breathed a sigh of relief, great, it worked. She could not help but feel a little confused, but Aslan, why was Dylan dragged away? He replied calmly, just some work. Contrary to her worries, the outing with Aslan ended with a surprisingly peaceful meal. And before I had time to breathe, a new wind began to blow. The summer hunting trip, organized by His Highness the Crown Prince, will take place in a few days in the sacred forest. The presence of the two of you is a joy for the royal family. And we are very much looking forward to that day. Her hand tightened on the paper, her inner self screamed, Johannes. Vivian closed her eyes tightly, her heart filled with resentment. The sacred forest, finally the crown prince is doing it. The sacred forest, it is the sacred place where the first emperor rested, and is a private place never open to anyone outside the royal family. The problem is that the sacred forest is permeated with anti-demon power, making it the worst place for Aslan, who is afflicted with the curse of Astaroth. At the same time, Aslan looked directly at her. Vivian, are you okay? You do not look well. He put on a sad expression, maybe you should stay home. Seeing that, Vivian tried to raise her voice, come on, how can I stay home while you are participating? In her heart a thought rang, what is worse is. The deliberate poisoning of the queen took place right before the hunting festival, and because Aslan had no alibi, he was framed. Knowing this, how could I stay in the mansion? My tuberculosis medicine is in danger. Just then, the escort shouted to announce, we are almost there. Vivian's eyes widened in surprise, this is. Her eyes were completely immersed in the mountainous forest scenery, the sacred forest. Vivian gently touched her chest, she smiled, I feel like breathing is easier. Does the effect of anti-demon also reduce my tuberculosis? Alright, I will seize this opportunity to try to overcome it. First, I need to keep Aslan away from the queen. Vivian smiled, bowed slightly, and was about to leave. Aslan, I will go to the camp and meet you later. Then suddenly he reached out to her, wait. Aslan's eyes looked pleading, as if wanting to penetrate Vivian's calm exterior. Aren't you going to give me a good luck kiss? She startled, her face flushed like a rose caught in the sun. What are you saying? Saying that, Vivian turned her head in panic to look at the couples. She looked around at the people exchanging passionate kisses, thinking about it, everyone around. Vivian turned to look at him, that is right, if I just leave, it will be embarrassing for Aslan. If so, then I have no choice. She reached out to hold Aslan's cheeks and gave him a light kiss. In that instant, his cheeks flushed red like tomatoes. Amidst the romantic mountains and forests, the two lovingly embraced each other. After a while, Vivian moved her lips away from Aslan's cheeks. Her voice was as small as the breeze. Then, good luck, Aslan. He softly called her name, as if wanting to keep that moment. Vivian. Aslan said decisively, I will respond by catching the best hunt in this hunting party. The scene shifted to an extremely luxurious room. Vivian could not help but admire. No wonder it is so big. It used to be a mansion, but those who do not participate in the hunt will stay here. I wonder if the queen has arrived yet. In a small corner, a woman turned to discuss. Isn't that Countess Amelia? The person beside her excitedly speculated. It seems she plans to participate in this year's hunting party. At the same time, Vivian unconsciously turned to look in one direction. Wait, what? Vivian saw Amelia from a distance. She could not help but feel a little surprised. Countess Amelia. She is the real culprit who tried to poison the queen in the original story, and then blamed Aslan. She is not even trying to be cautious. Truly the audacity of someone who is the emperor's mistress. Fortunately, everything seems to be unfolding like the original story. At this rate, Amelia will definitely put the poison in that paper into the champagne glass and bring it to the queen. So I just need to pretend to bump into the servant, and secretly switch the glass before they take action. Then, I will need to sneak out. Just at this moment, a piercing scream rang out. Her Majesty the Queen, His Highness the Crown Prince has arrived. She immediately turned around to look behind. They are here. The Queen narrowed her eyes to look at Vivian. We meet again, Miss Vivian. Seeing that, she immediately lowered herself. Greetings, Your Majesty and His Highness. Johanna stepped forward. Are you well, Miss Vivian? Meanwhile, Vivian felt slightly uneasy. How strange, I can't believe the Queen approached me first. She asked curiously, are you also participating in this year's hunting party? She lowered her voice, replying respectfully, yes, but today I plan to stay here. Hearing that, Johannes once again interrupted. That is great. Vivian reacted with a dazed expression. Yes. He said calmly, coincidentally, my mother's servants have gone to participate in the hunting party today. If you replace them to be by my mother's side, I will be very relieved. Vivian turned around. She bowed respectfully. Although I am still lacking, I will do my best today. At the same time, the queen stared at Vivian. She looked slightly awkward. Is there something on my face? After a while, she waved her hand to signal. You do not look well again. I have already called the royal physician, so please allow him to examine you. Examine me. Vivian placed a big question mark. Why does she want him to examine me? The queen's meaningful reminder suddenly echoed in Vivian's head. I will continue to observe you. She unconsciously felt a chill down her spine. Could it be? She called the doctor to see when Aslan's fiancé will die, because the time is lasting longer than she thought. Now that I think about it, the female lead was extremely humiliated by the queen in this very place. Will something terrible happen to? At the same time, Pablo carefully brought the stethoscope to Vivian. His voice rang low. My name is Pablo. I will examine you today. Now if possible I will listen to your lungs. She tried to resist inwardly. No, I can't. Vivian quickly shifted her gaze. Wait, what is Amelia doing? Her servant is coming here. At this rate, switching the glasses is impossible. On one side, the royal physician is targeting me, and on the other side, the servant is approaching the queen. I am really in big trouble. The more Vivian thought, the more confused she became. What should I do? Think, Vivian, there has to be a way to escape this. In that instant, her body almost stiffened. After a moment of silence, Pablo's voice rang out again. Miss Vivian. She carefully looked at his chest. Can I use this? I will try it. Without hesitation Vivian reached out to take the sharp metal piece. She sternly questioned, what is this sharp tweezers for? Pablo hastily explained, it is just a medical instrument used to examine the respiratory system. Vivian smiled faintly, so you plan to use this to poke my nose? Seeing that, he still tried to explain, it may be uncomfortable but it won't hurt, she said coldly. I refuse. What if they injure me? Vivian quickly glanced around. Good, I am attracting everyone's attention. Let us play the villainous act. I can't stop the poisoning myself. I will let someone else do it. Vivian shouted loudly, her voice echoing throughout the hall. Over there, a maid startled. Yes, did you call me? She brought the tweezers closer to the maid with a serious expression as if handing over contraband. Yes, you, hold these tweezers for a moment. She trembled slightly. Miss Vivian, I have to bring this glass of wine to the queen, Vivian said in an authoritative voice. Just for a moment, I just need to check if these tweezers are harmful to me. Saying that, she chuckled softly. With this thing, my brother had it made for me, and it has the ability to determine whether there is anything harmful to me in the surrounding area. A nobleman whispered, trying to cover his mouth. It is the villainess of Eleonora. The person beside her looked disapproving. It has been a long time since she caused trouble. But here she goes again. Vivian shrugged slightly, her lips curved into a provocative smile. Everyone sees it, right? I am not touching the wine glass. After a while, she brought out a crystal and urged, check it out. The maid panicked when she felt everyone's gaze on her. She shouted, please let me go. At the same time, Johannes's eyes stopped on her. The entire hall began to panic, whispers rang out, what just happened? Pablo looked at Vivian with horrified eyes. That, impossible. One of them hesitantly spoke, that item has turned black, so that means there is something wrong with that tweezer. He tried to explain, impossible, there must be some misunderstanding. Vivian turned around coldly, misunderstanding. Before her probing eyes, Pablo said strongly, you said it determines everything that can harm you in the surrounding area, right? So maybe it is not reacting to my tweezer. She slightly curled her lips, that is right, Pablo. Vivian smiled meaningfully, let us just say you are right, then what do you think it is reacting to? At the same time, the maid's body trembled. Before her strange reaction, he could not help but feel a little confused, that maid. Immediately afterward, Pablo blatantly accused, that maid is very suspicious, especially that glass of wine. Vivian looked suspicious, you mean there is something wrong with this glass of wine, he said calmly, I think it is worth taking a look. She brought the shining object closer, the black light became darker, you are right, this item is reacting to the glass of wine more strongly than the tweezer. A lady covered her mouth and shouted, oh my goodness, was it poisoned? She said she was going to bring that glass of wine to the queen, right? Johannes's voice rang out strongly, shaking the entire hall, tie up this maid immediately. He cast a cold eye on the perpetrator, I will personally interrogate her. The maid cried and screamed as she was dragged away, no, I am innocent, your highness. Vivian thought to herself, I think this matter has been resolved more or less, now is my chance to sneak away. I spent more time here than I planned, so I have to hurry. According to the original story, Aslan's demonic energy will erupt around dusk. So I have to prevent him from entering the tomb of the first emperor. Just then, Johannes suddenly spoke, I am very impressed, Miss Vivian. Her body immediately stopped, her body stiffening like a stick. Vivian turned around, trying to hide her nervousness. Why is that, your highness? His voice was full of meaning, your agility and humility. Johannes looked behind, you not only prevented the poisoning, but also pretended to confidently give credit to others while humbly stepping back. She could not help but feel a little shiver. As expected, it is not easy to fool the main villain, maybe it is better to be honest now. After a while, Vivian bowed, her voice murmured, excuse me, your highness. Johannes waved his hand to reassure, don't be nervous, I know you are not the culprit. He suddenly lowered his voice, it is a shame, you are too good a woman for Aslan. Saying that, Johannes calmly turned around, she looked after him in confusion, excuse me, your highness. Vivian stared at him with a puzzled expression. Meanwhile, Johannes quietly observed her, but... He smirked, if you go to Aslan, you will soon discover. Your fiancé is nothing more than prey. In another development, the man said in a heavy voice, he can't have gone far, we have to capture him alive. At the same time, Aslan painfully clutched his chest, damn it. If I touch the relic, I will no longer be able to control the demonic energy. I had prepared carefully for the sacred forest and the consequences of anti-magic, but I never imagined they would go so far as to use the sword of the first emperor, a relic, to strike me. You crave to capture me that much, Johannes. Afterward, he could not help but groan, I can't. Aslan's body collapsed to the ground, he wiped his mouth with his hand. His breath was heavy as if wanting to burst into a roar, I can't go any further, I need to rest. Aslan swept his eyes along the trampled earth, his animal instincts sounded a warning, there are trail marks, a road leading deep into the forest. To the tomb of the first emperor, only allowed to enter by the direct line of the royal family. If I lose to them, then the only way is to go inside the tomb, but... I can't withstand the anti-magic force in the tomb, I will have to roam around in beast form for a long time. Suddenly Aslan stopped, her name rang out again, Vivian. I am sorry, I was planning to come back to you sooner, but it seems. He looked desperately into the void, I have to delay it. After a while, only to see footprints all over the ground. At the same time, Vivian pulled the horse's reins hard. She looked ahead, her face gradually showing undisguised anxiety, the sun is about to set, but there is no sign of Aslan. If everything goes according to the original story, Aslan will lose control of his demonic energy because of Johannes's trap. And he will turn into a black lion in front of his loyal subordinates. Then he will have no choice but to eliminate them, I must do everything I can to prevent this tragedy. Just then, Vivian put on a panicked expression. She hastily tightened the reins, the horse stopped immediately. Vivian's eyes followed the deep hoof prints in the mud, they were fading, but there were clearly traces of animals and humans. But this path leads directly to the tomb of the first emperor. His name came out like a plea, Aslan. The scene shifted to the deepest part of the forest. At the tomb of the first emperor. She thought to herself, if Aslan is here, he must have transformed into beast form and lost his mind. Vivian kept telling herself, I should be careful. Then she unconsciously turned around to look behind. Vivian looked at the thick bushes with confusion. What is that sound? From inside, two bright red eyes glowed. Before the sudden scene, she put on a stiff expression. Then suddenly Aslan roared, his body pouncing quickly towards Vivian. Immediately afterward, a scream rang out shrilly. Vivian opened her mouth to groan, standing still like a statue. Am I really about to be eaten alive? After a moment of silence, she dazedly opened her eyes. At this time, Aslan stood silently beside Vivian. Immediately afterward, he lay down on the ground. Vivian looked at the giant lion tilting its head, blinking like a kitten. Her eyes changed from panic to daze. What is he doing? Is it a ritual before eating? Although it looks no different from showing off cuteness. That is right, Vivian's special wild beast taming skill must have been activated. She laughed softly, breathing a sigh of relief as if just rescued from the jaws of death. I am alive. Applause for Vivian. In a flash, dark clouds gathered and covered the sky. Suddenly raindrops fell straight on Vivian's head. She groaned unconsciously. It is so cold. Vivian looked up at the sky. It is raining. So what should I do? The sun is about to set, and the air will be colder. Aslan suddenly gnawed at Vivian's clothes. She looked at him curiously. What is wrong? Vivian tilted her head to look at the door. You want to go in there? No way. Only direct descendants of the royal family can enter. She thought to herself, it seems like he wants to take shelter from the rain, but the divine power here is too strong. It could harm him. We should find a place. Suddenly Aslan rushed past Vivian. She shouted in a heavy voice, hey, my sword. Vivian could not help but admire. Honestly, this giant lion is extremely stubborn. She ran after him. There is no time to joke around. Seeing that, Vivian had to compromise. Alright, but we have to get out of here right away. Inside, flames kept burning in the air. Vivian looked at the flames. She unconsciously smiled. Here it is. She did not forget to remind, fortunately I brought a torch. It is very dark, so stand close to me. Then Vivian looked back at him in surprise. Aslan. She asked worriedly, what is wrong? Are you getting angry, or is it? Vivian almost screamed, oh my goodness, you are bleeding so much. Her eyes clearly showed worry. His condition is so bad that he is bleeding. Even if Aslan insisted, I should not have come here. Vivian gently stroked him. I am sorry, it seems we should leave. Can you move? You can lean on me if you need. She moved closer while hugging Aslan. It is okay. In a flash, his eyes lit up. Aslan suddenly rushed forward. Vivian's thigh suddenly bled. Seeing that, he immediately reacted, his eyes shining brightly. At the same time, she stared dazedly at Aslan. Black lion. Vivian smirked. Because of this, it is okay, I can heal with magic. She reassured him once again, so do not be afraid, I am fine. Hearing that, Aslan slowly moved towards Vivian. She reached out to him, come a little closer. Vivian's eyes gradually shifted to a look of confusion. She called his name in horror. Black lion, Aslan is going crazy. Before the beast that was gradually approaching, Vivian said in a trembling voice, Black lion. At the same time, Aslan's inner self began to come alive. He frantically resisted. No. I will hurt Vivian again. Only to see his claws constantly scratching on the ground. Immediately afterward, Aslan turned and ran away. She reached out to him. Wait, come back. Vivian immediately followed. She could not help but feel a little worried. He is going straight to the tomb. Is he panicking? In that instant, her inner self frantically shouted his name, Aslan. Over on this side, the group of people had been waiting since some time. At a room with a very majestic wooden door. At the same time, Vivian burst into the room. She shouted, Lion. In that instant, Vivian's face stiffened, her eyes widened. She thought to herself, how strange, I did not feel anything when I was outside. So why do I suddenly feel uncomfortable? Vivian's eyes stopped on the symbol pattern, moreover. The symbol on the ceiling of the tomb. She looked around the room, the Eleanor family symbol. The sword that defeated the demon, the symbol of the Eleanor family. Awarded as a mark of honor to the founder, who was a companion to the first emperor. She was the only one who believed in the emperor and fought alongside him, seeing this symbol on the tomb. Vivian placed her hand in the middle of her chest. She kept thinking, I wonder if the emperor wanted to be next to his friend, even in death. She tightened her hem. Her heart could not help but feel a little confused. Why is my chest so tight? It is not the tuberculosis acting up. Do I feel discouraged because I am standing before someone else's grave? Just then, Aslan suddenly appeared. He slowly moved towards Vivian. Seeing that, she smiled happily. It is you. I am glad you came back. It is too stuffy here. Vivian staggered while enthusiastically persuading, let us get out of here, lion, or I will leave on my own. Then suddenly her face turned to a look of surprise, muttering, wait. Only to see Aslan rush towards the group of people. Just then, the man shouted in a heavy voice, capture that black lion alive. Vivian turned to look behind, her eyes widened, her heart beat fast, her body tensed like a bowstring. What is happening? They want to capture Aslan alive. Are they Johannes's people? They have been following me all along, Aslan realized, and saved me. She kept repeating in her subconscious, again, like the incident in the cave. Vivian's hand quickly placed on the hilt of the sword, but if there is a difference. She swung the sword lightly into the air, her eyes fixed on the group of people. Then that is this time I have a sword. In that instant, Vivian's voice rang like thunder, get out of the way, kitty. Before the group of people could react, her body rushed towards them. Vivian's eyes narrowed, inside hidden a resentment. The sound of the sword slicing down created a chilling sound, fresh blood splattered everywhere. The man said in a trembling voice, who is she? Why did not you deal with her sooner? The person beside him replied hesitantly, I did not know she could fight like that. Seeing that, he hastily ordered, kill her, we can't leave any. Over on this side, Vivian frantically swung her sword, thoughts crept into her subconscious, Johannes, I know you are afraid of Aslan, that is why you are doing this. The fact that the Astaroth curse was passed on to Aslan, also means that there is a power to restore the demon. If you kill Aslan, then you will bear the curse yourself. That is why you want to tie him up with black magic and lock him up like a mummy. Vivian's inner self became more and more angry, even though Aslan did nothing wrong. He never desired the throne. Even Blackford, built by Aslan, and his allies, all were just struggling to survive. After a long time, the sword in her hand fell straight to the ground. Vivian lowered her head, around her bodies lay piled up. She breathed a long sigh trying to suppress the anger. The more I think about it, the angrier I get. This special power is not one-sided. At the same time, Aslan suddenly kissed Vivian's hand lightly. She gently stroked him. Have you calmed down now? I mean, Black Lion. Vivian said calmly, and I won't try to chase you out of here anymore. I know how stubborn you are. She continued to add, her tone low, but to warn you, this is not a good place. Although it is raining and dark outside, you should really consider leaving. Vivian once again affirmed, but I will stay by your side because of that. Her body suddenly swayed and leaned to the side. Before the sudden scene, his eyes lit up. Vivian. Aslan screamed frantically in his subconscious, no, she is overdoing it again. He looked at her painfully, no, please, open your eyes, Vivian, Vivian. Only to see Vivian's mouth open slightly, then breathe out gently. Seeing that, Aslan dared to breathe heavily, she just fell asleep. In that instant, he unconsciously looked at Vivian's face. Aslan lay right next to her, thinking to himself, like this, I can endure it, should we spend the night here? Vivian seems exhausted. Outside, the moonlight became brighter and brighter, the stars were also shining. At the same time, Vivian chuckled, I have tamed the lion, I will brag to Alex. Aslan lowered his head and stared at her face. He reached out to touch Vivian's body, his voice murmured, I am sorry, Vivian. Afterward, Aslan leaned over and kissed her cheek lightly, but it seems you can't. He continued to add, I am sorry, Vivian, but maybe you can't brag anymore, the curse disappeared sooner than I thought. Saying that, Aslan unconsciously stared at Vivian again. He thanked inwardly, thanks to you, this fierce curse has lightened. It is because you forgive me, and do not give up on me. Aslan gently held her hand, he could not help but admire, so small. You are so small and devoted, making me afraid that I might hurt you. But I also hope you do not turn your back on me. So I could not help but run away, I am so selfish. After hiding my identity and injuring you, I still feel like wanting to bond more deeply instead of being satisfied with the present. That is right, the truth is, I want your heart, I want to go as deep as possible. Aslan once again repeated in his subconscious, I am sorry, Vivian. I know that one day I will have to leave you, because you do not belong to a monster like me. But I can't restrain myself to let you go. The next morning, the first sunlight of the day filtered through the leaves. Over on this side, Vivian yawned. She stretched her shoulders, breathing a long sigh. It seems the ancestors watched over me. I slept warmly even though I was lying on the stone floor, although I am a little tired. Vivian's eyes stopped on the crowd of people, anyway. She looked around, where did Aslan go? He was not there when I woke up. His body is still not completely healed, I wonder if he is okay. Only to see Vivian's eyes widen, a light radiating. She glued her eyes to the person in front of her while calling, Aslan. Vivian asked worriedly, are you okay? She immediately covered her mouth. I have to pretend I do not know he turned into a black lion. Immediately afterward, Vivian changed the question, where have you been? I got lost looking for you yesterday, he replied with an awkward look, I am sorry. Aslan tried to avoid eye contact, his voice murmured, I do not have any excuses, but, she repeated with confusion, but. He looked worriedly at her leg, you have a wound on your thigh, are you okay? Seeing that, Vivian immediately justified, I must have fallen while looking for you yesterday. Aslan looked serious, do you think you can walk? She sighed wearily, of course not, you do not know how to use healing magic, do you, Aslan? Hearing that, he nodded seriously, I will learn. Aslan suddenly fumbled in his coat, but I have this. He tore off a part of his coat without hesitation. Immediately afterward, Aslan carefully bent down, he said softly, we can't let it get infected, so let us do first aid like this. Only to see Aslan gently stroking Vivian's calf. She looked down shyly, he is carefully bandaging. Although he was not conscious in his black lion form, perhaps he was somewhat aware that he had caused this wound. In that instant, Vivian's inner self began to signal, it is so ticklish. After a moment of silence, Aslan said, done, she replied shyly, thank you, Aslan. He suddenly made a proposal, climb on my back, I will carry you back to the camp. She could not help but feel a little surprised, you will, what? Afterward, Aslan gently carried Vivian. Vivian moved closer to Aslan, she looked embarrassed, you do not have to do that, I can ride a horse. Hearing that, he replied calmly, I lost it, she exclaimed in surprise, what? Seeing that, Aslan lowered his voice, he said in a delicate voice, I also make mistakes, after all I am human too. Aslan looked ashamed, he slightly lowered his head, his voice trembled slightly, and for some reason I seem to make even more mistakes when I am near you. With self-reproach, Aslan emphasized each word, I could not keep my promise to you yesterday, and let you wander in the forest alone. At the same time, Vivian unconsciously hugged him, Aslan. But everything, from suffering from the curse, to turning into a magic beast, is not your fault. Afterward, Aslan suddenly changed the subject, I have a secret that you can't imagine, that is why I was late, Vivian, Vivian curved her lips into a smile, so what if you have a secret? Her voice rang softly, if it makes you hurt, then do not say it, sometimes keeping it in your heart for a while is the best way. Viva continued to add, her tone somewhat playful, who knows, perhaps if you hide it long enough, a lie will become the truth. Just then, Aslan unconsciously smiled, how strange. He said softly, his eyes following Vivian's every move, you seem to know exactly what I want to hear. Her eyes flashed with embarrassment mixed with self-reproach, her shoulders slumped slightly, oh no, did I dig too deep? Vivian hastily changed the subject, can we speed up, he chuckled, I will try. The scene shifted to Aslan's temporary camp. Inside, Aslan ordered, his voice sharp, call the royal physician quickly, and prepare a warm bath for her. The other person replied quickly, yes, your highness. After a moment of silence, Vivian looked awkward, this is not where my camp is. Seeing that, he turned around and said calmly, no, this is where we are staying, she angrily shouted inwardly, stubborn lion. If I do not return to the camp soon, my brother will worry, maybe he has gone to look for me. This bed is so soft and comfortable, this is truly a camp worthy of royalty. I am sorry Alex, see you later, I will stay here with. Just then, Vivian's eyes widened, she unconsciously exclaimed, wait. Vivian jumped out of bed, she could not help but feel a little skeptical, you mean we will be staying together in this small room, throughout the hunting week? We will sleep, bathe, and change clothes together. Aslan said in a low voice, his shoulders slightly hunched, I can't bear to let someone as weak as you sleep in an outdoor camp. He turned to look around then lowered his voice, if you are not comfortable, then I will sleep on the couch. Her heart faintly felt grateful, Aslan could have had this entire room for himself, he gave it to me because he was worried about my health. Thinking of this, Vivian could not help but regret, I spoke without thinking. She lowered her head slightly, smoothing her hair, her eyes embarrassed, I am sorry, I did not mean to act wary of you, perhaps you also want to take a bath. Vivian trailed off, you insisted on giving the room to me, and, so. Just at this moment, Aslan suddenly called her name, Vivian, she quickly replied, yes, he gently reminded, don't worry about me, just relax, because this room. Aslan paused, his eyes probing her reaction, emphasizing each word, is big enough for 2 people. Before the warmth that was coming, Vivian murmured in her throat, this room is big enough for 2 people, is it? Aslan once again called her name with a gentle voice, Vivian. He gently lifted Vivian's chin, is this arrangement okay with you? She reached out to touch the bed, again, this place is wide enough for 2 people, she said softly, yes, I think so. Seeing that, Aslan did not forget to remind, if you do not like this place, tell me, Vivian thought to herself, is he planning to sleep on the couch? After a while, she replied briefly, all right. Just then, a shout echoed from inside, let go, let me ask her myself. The servant replied with an urgent tone, please do not do that, Duke, the shout echoed again, get out of the way. Alex suddenly burst in, Vivian, there you are. He questioned as soon as he arrived, is it true that you cancelled the engagement ceremony? Faced with the sudden question, Vivian blinked a few times, she asked in confusion, what ceremony? Vivian turned to look at him, I have never heard of it, Aslan, what is he talking about? After a while, Vivian's voice rang out. She crossed her arms with a serious expression while questioning, so Aslan was planning a surprise proposal. Vivian helplessly continued, and he was going to dance with the rose, the thing that Dylan mentioned. Saying that, she turned around with dissatisfaction. Are you kidding me? Aslan stepped closer. He looked confused. I can explain everything, that was. Alex shouted heavily, get out of the way, Dylan. Vivian frowned slightly. I almost experienced the most embarrassing feeling in the history of the Empire. After a while, she coldly turned around. Let us go. Alex, where's the camp? He looked at her in confusion. It is a long walk from here. Are you okay? Seeing that, Dylan put on a worried expression. Lady. At the same time, Aslan suddenly approached, his voice lingering. Dylan. Aslan's face darkened, his voice rang like a call from the dead. It seems I have let you have too much freedom, do not you think? In the mansion, Dylan's scream echoed. I am sorry. The fourth day of the hunting party, the queen's resting place. On the dining table, spoons and forks were neatly placed along with a vase of flowers. At the same time, Johannes tilted his head slightly. He smirked. You seem to be in good spirits, mother. The queen gave a slight smile. Is that so? As you said, it seems I am quite satisfied. Her face flashed with satisfaction. I finally caught Amelia, that eyesore, out of sight. She thought she was high and mighty, just because she was the emperor's mistress, but it was all ruined by Miss Vivian. The queen gently placed the teacup on the table. She thought to herself, that is right. In that instant, her face appeared clearly in her subconscious, Miss Vivian Eleonora. At first, I thought she was nothing more than a spoiled brat only relying on the family's reputation, so I pushed the engagement proposal from Johannes to Aslan as if bestowing a favor. But thinking about her proving herself so talented and humble, I realized I wanted her to become the crown princess even more. Johannes tilted his head, his eyes probing the queen's reaction. It seems mother also has a good impression of Miss Vivian. Hearing that, she did not bother to hide it and smiled. The queen said slowly, I heard, a foreign doctor has found a way to cure tuberculosis. He quickly replied, yes, obviously, I have been trying to get in touch. The queen's voice softened, a light smile flashed. Very good, I hope this news will make her happy. Saying this, she did not forget to remind, you should also build a relationship with Duke Eleonora, that will be a good way to pull Eleonora to our side. Johannes replied quickly like a machine. Yes, mother. The queen suddenly called, Sarah. She immediately bowed her head. Yes, your majesty. She suddenly ordered, bring Vivian Eleonora here, treat her with the utmost respect. Sarah quickly replied, yes, your majesty. The scene shifted to Aslan's mansion. At the same time, Vivian slowly strolled in the garden. She suddenly breathed a long sigh, her face pale. Vivian could not help but admire. Today is an unofficial holiday of the hunting party, but I did not expect her to call me. She said a doctor can cure tuberculosis, right? So the time has come for that part, the fake doctor chapter. This is the scam of the century in the history of the empire. Even the original Vivian placed her last hope on this fake doctor, but when the truth was revealed, she went crazy in despair. And vented her anger on poor innocent Iris, even trying to stab her. But before the tuberculosis killed her. She shuddered as she recalled a scene. Aslan did it. In other words, this is the last chapter that Vivian is still alive. Vivian could not help but lament inwardly. This gives me the chills. I know Aslan won't kill me now. But it is still not certain. Just then, a hand reached out to touch her shoulder. Vivian immediately reacted. She screamed in horror. Aslan called urgently, Vivian. He asked worriedly, I called you but you did not answer. Did I scare you? Aslan looked sad. I am sorry for suddenly dropping by, but I heard the queen called you so I. Vivian looked up, her eyes probing Aslan. He is worried, but if nothing happened, she would not be so unusually kind. She closed her eyes tightly, thinking to herself, for some reason, I feel uneasy. Of course, it still makes me angry, that he prepared such a proposal without asking my opinion. But I do not hate him. Why is that? Is it because he is handsome? But considering the things I have been through, I can't forgive. After a while, Aslan once again called her name, Vivian. He suddenly declared, I will do everything you want. Aslan moved closer to Vivian. He said with an urgent tone, so can you forgive me? Vivian's eyes widened in surprise. I never thought he would go this far. She lowered her head, muttering, Aslan, you. Vivian's eyes lit up. She excitedly asked, you just said anything, right? Vivian made a secret decision. Aslan is willing to go this far. I can't let this opportunity slip by. After all the troubles I have been through while being with Aslan. Taking revenge is only natural. In her head a thought rang, or should I? Only to see Aslan put on a sad expression. He looked up and stared at Vivian with teary eyes. Before that scene, her heart unconsciously trembled. Oh my, he looks so pitiful. Vivian sighed wearily in her heart. Every time I see his face, I become weak. Seeing that, she coughed softly. All right. Vivian pretended to be stern. Then right now tell me exactly where you went wrong, without leaving anything out. Aslan replied hesitantly, I almost embarrassed you. Next time, I will propose properly. Hearing that, Vivian looked disappointed. She said coldly, in my whole life, I have been tolerant of the rumors that others spread, Do you really not know why I am angry? Faced with the sudden question, his body almost stiffened. After a moment of silence, Aslan frankly admitted, this is an issue between the two of us, but I listen to other people, and... He gently reached out to her. I did not think for you. Aslan's voice trembled, his eyes strained towards Vivian. I am an idiot, you should have been the first to hear about this. Vivian was almost immersed in his eyes. She said absent-mindedly, that is right. Her inner self rose to thought, he must be uncomfortable with conversations like this, but he is doing very well. Then Vivian coldly shook his hand, but, I still can't forgive you. She raised her eyes, smiling challengingly. There are only 2 days left in the hunting party, right? During that time, catch me a beautiful animal, then I will forgive you. Saying that, Vivian put on a smug expression. Aslan has the skills but can't achieve that in 2 days. It seems that is a good way to repay. He replied briefly without hesitation, all right. Aslan's eyes followed Vivian, his hand placed on his chest, his voice gentle but sure. If I can get your forgiveness, I will gladly lose the honorable victory. Before the aura that was constantly shining, she faintly felt helpless. Vivian chuckled, you are being a little too hasty, are not you? Aslan said wearily, then let me make an alternative proposal. He smirked, according to the traditions of the hunting party. Aslan suddenly made a proposal, you will give me a kiss if I win, right? Vivian unconsciously repeated, traditions. She could not help but feel a little confused. He mentioned the thing when the winner of the hunting party brings glory to their lover and is given a kiss in front of everyone. He is so shameless to set such a condition when he is the one begging for forgiveness. He must be confident that he can win. But winning in 2 days is impossible. Vivian smirked, okay. 2 days later, the last day of the hunting party, the group of people had gathered completely. The man could not help but admire, this is truly extraordinary. The group of people stared at the bear. One of them spoke, this must weigh more than 10,000 pounds, the Grand Duke is on a different level. The man asked in confusion, a few days ago he also caught 2 big whites, right? The other person quickly confirmed, that is right, then obviously the winner of this hunting party is. Just then, footsteps rang out from afar. The group of people turned their eyes towards Aslan, Grand Duke Astaroth. They began to cheer excitedly, congratulations, your highness, that is great. Over on this side, Vivian lowered her head, I am done for. No, it is too early to give up, running away is my specialty, so if I run away now. Just then, he suddenly shouted, I want to give this honor to my only fiancée. Saying that, Aslan stepped closer to her. He lowered his voice, have you forgiven me now? Seeing that, Vivian helplessly replied, a promise is a promise. She blamed herself, I was too short-sighted and complacent. Immediately afterward, Vivian lifted her heels, then let us do this. Aslan looked pleased, all right. He suddenly smirked and signaled, but... Aslan looked at her helplessly, why are you pouting so much? Vivian shouted in a low tone, I have no choice, I have never done it before, except for the kiss on the cheek. She began to grumble, and there are so many people watching, so if we do not do it right there will be more news. Suddenly Aslan hugged Vivian and gave her a deep kiss. His hand gently held her head. In that instant, Vivian's hands unconsciously reached out behind him. Before the cheers, the two seemed to have the same thought, like this everyone will see. Our engagement is very solid, that is enough, but... At this time, Vivian could not help but admire, why is my heart beating so fast? Seeing that, Aslan asked worriedly, are you okay? She replied shyly, yes. Vivian turned away, she thought to herself, that is because of the festive mood around me. From the assassination attempt on the queen, to Aslan's new hunting record. The hunting party, having satisfied countless whisperers, finally ended amidst the shouts of the crowd. After the hunting party, we returned to Blackford. I want to live a peaceful life, healing the wounds I suffered in the tomb. That is right, peaceful, is what I desire. After a while, the group of people surrounded Vivian's desk. The teenager quickly reported, His Highness has ordered, the floor and walls in the banquet hall are completely replaced. The man excitedly added, he also arranged the chandeliers and windows in the hall to follow the latest trends. The group of people handed the pieces of paper to her in turn. The questions piled up. Do you not like this item in the catalogue, lady? Then can I suggest a unique decoration, lady? Seeing that, Vivian sighed in her heart, why do I have to face this anger as soon as I return? Since arriving in the capital, I have not had time to rest, because of my 18th birthday, and the coming-of-age ceremony. The scene shifted to outside the city. Jesus stared at the city gate where the crowd was gathering. He smirked, it seems the lady is busy. Jesus said implicitly, I need to talk to her urgently. He breathed a sigh, although there are many guests coming to Blackford, but it is very easy for me to sneak in. Saying that, Jesus could not help but feel a little excited, I wonder if she will recognize me this time. Returning to Vivian, the man continued to ask, Lady, all of these are the best items imported from abroad, how do you like this design? She helplessly looked at the pile of documents in her hand. This is a bit too much. I was hoping to just smile and endure, but it seems I have no choice. A thought flashed in Vivian's head. It is time to play that game. From inside the room a loud noise kept coming out. Dylan immediately reacted. Lady. He asked worriedly, are you okay, lady? Shall I call the doctor? No, she said weakly. I think I need to rest. Hearing that, Dylan immediately made a proposal. Then I will tell the merchants to come back another day. Vivian frantically resisted inwardly. They do not need to come back. As soon as the group of people left, she sighed inwardly. Finally I can breathe. Vivian looked dazedly at the figure in front of her. You are. Jesus bowed politely. Hello, I am an employee of Lady Scarlet's shop. He frankly admitted, I came here to take measurements for the bodice that was ordered. Dylan leaned over and whispered, should I kick him out, lady? Vivian's eyes suddenly sharpened. She replied briefly, wait. Vivian looked suspicious. I have seen that pin before. It is the eye of truth that Jesus likes to wear. Right, I have seen it in the novel. Thinking of this, she silently affirmed, then that must be Jesus. Dylan immediately approached. Didn't you hear what the lady said? The lady needs to rest. Get out of. Seeing that, Vivian hastily interjected, wait. She stood up while explaining, it is okay, Dylan, I called him, so he can go upstairs with me. He looked worried, but... Seeing that, Vivian emphasized each word. Lady Scarlet's shop has a long waiting list, so this price is not big. Dylan bowed. Yes, lady, if you need anything, just call me. Immediately afterward, the door slowly closed. Inside, she turned to look at Jesus. I did not expect you to come here in person. Vivian narrowed her eyes, especially not in this form. He curled his lips and smiled. The demonic energy in the house gives me quite a headache. Jesus did not forget to complain. The Grand Duke protects you as if you are a rare treasure. He turned around while saying implicitly, which mage can fool him besides me? Saying that, Jesus leaned back in the chair. I thought you would see through me right away, Vivian thought to herself, still as annoying as ever. She quickly went straight to the point. In any case, you are here, meaning you have found a way to break the black magic, right? Jesus said with a heavy tone, it will probably take a little more time. I have encountered an unexpected obstacle. Vivian exclaimed in surprise. What? I thought I did not cause you any problems. He nodded slightly, his voice rang low, of course, but first, I have something I want to ask you. Jesus turned to look directly into her eyes. The demon Astaroth seems to be related to the black magic inside you. Saying that, he probed, I want to trace to its origin. Can you think of anything? Thoughts crept into Vivian's mind. The six-pointed star mark I saw on Aslan in lion form is similar to mine, but that is not the mark described in the original story. It requires a link between a person and a beast, and because I have never met that condition, there is no way I have that. Jesus's voice was still lingering. That magic circle is suppressing your tuberculosis, she thought to herself, as Jesus said, since I discovered this magic circle, my tuberculosis symptoms have been greatly reduced. If this is not a coincidence, meaning I will not die before Aslan dies. Thinking of this, Vivian could not help but feel a little uneasy, and if he dies, I will die. So because the two people have the same mark with interconnected lives, I should not rule out this possibility. If this magic circle is the mark, now I do not have enough information about the magic circle. It seems Jesus knows something, so I will have to ask more. But I have to be subtle, while pretending to be indifferent. After a moment of silence, she slowly spoke, I am not even sure when this circle appeared. Vivian calmly said provocatively, you came all the way here just to ask me that. I thought you were confident. She looked smug. Does it sting? Go on, reveal everything you know. Contrary to expectations, Jesus looked indifferent. What a disappointment, to not think of anything. He suddenly brought a shocking information. If so then, you probably also do not know the demon Astaroth has plotted with the Eleanor family. Her eyes widened in surprise. What? Jesus calmly added, I said the magic circle on your body is not yet complete, right? He spoke while smiling. The reason is your bloodline, the pure Eleanor bloodline, has prevented the dark magic from taking over. Jesus emphasized each word heavily, because two different types of dark magic cannot harmonize in one time. The one that is cast on later will not be complete. In that instant, Vivian's head buzzed. Mother is a direct descendant of Eleonora, and father is from a distant line. But this is not in the novel. This is too confusing. I intended to provoke Jesus, but it backfired on me. She looked at Jesus with dissatisfaction. How troublesome. That is right, I will let my fists do the talking. At the same time, a knock echoed from inside. Vivian turned around in surprise. Aslan. She hastily signaled, Jesus, Aslan is coming, you should hide. Then suddenly he wrapped the rope around Vivian's waist. Meanwhile, Aslan quickly entered. I am here, Vivian. He narrowed his eyes to look inside while asking, how are you feeling? Aslan slightly raised his eyebrows. Dylan said you were coughing badly just now. Only to see Jesus measuring the width of her waist. He lowered his voice. I felt him coming because of the demonic energy in the house. Do not worry, I will make sure he does not suspect anything. Aslan stepped closer. He asked sternly, you are an assistant from the shop. What are you whispering? Jesus smiled kindly. Her measurements, I just finished. At this time Aslan looked around. I knew an assistant was coming, but is not it a woman? He asked coldly. How old are you? Jesus answered honestly. I am 16, your highness. Aslan continued to interrogate. What is your name? He replied briefly, Miguel. Hearing that, he put on a displeased expression. Your shop is so short of people that you sent a kid to take measurements for a lady. Jesus replied with a naive expression. Lady Scarlet has many assistants, but I am the one assigned to take measurements for noble ladies. Saying that, he smiled. They like a cute, attractive boy like me. That is the shop's secret. Over on this side, Vivian also had to nod in agreement. That is right. She startled and turned to look at him. No, wait, why is he so good at acting and making up stories? Vivian quietly observed him. Aslan also does not look happy. Her eyelashes trembled slightly, following a train of thought. In that instant, Vivian could not help but feel a little worried. Knows it is Jesus.